Okay. Yeah, welcome everybody. Uh, it's really a pleasure to invite you all to the first edition of the SDG Open Hack 2022. It's indeed a great pleasure to have all of you all here with us today. And we will be starting our session, the hack, for 3 days. We will be following the details about how we go about the hack in a few moments from now. But it's indeed my great pleasure to invite Ms. Dr. Thomas Mullard, who's been very instrumental in having this first SDG Open Hack here at AIT. And I'm very happy that despite of his busy travel schedule, and I'm told he's actually traveling today, he's made his time to be there with us today. So with this, it's a great privilege to invite Dr. Thomas Mullard from the University of Geneva. Thomas, the floor is yours.
Hello, Gopi. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me well?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, fantastic. Welcome, everyone. Very, very happy to be with you today online for the launch of the SDG Open Hack in the AIT in Bangkok. This hackathon is organized by AIT with support of the University of Geneva, Open Geneva, and UNITA. We will have a word by Afro in a few minutes, and supported by the Swiss Development Corporations. The goal of this project is actually to foster innovation, education for innovation for the SDGs in Asia Pacific, following some initiatives we had initially in Geneva, but also in China with Tsinghua University in Beijing and in Shenzhen. So this is first time in Bangkok, and it's a great honor to do this project with you at AIT. And I want to particularly welcome the students and who are here. We're going to work for some time to develop solutions for aging and disabilities, digital solutions for aging and disabilities, and I think it's very important to deliver this message that the hackathon should be a moment for you to have to play, to experiment, to have fun, to make friends, to build communities around your project, and yeah, to enjoy. Really, I mean, very often, too often, I would say, innovation is considered as something serious. This is, of course, serious, but this is serious play where when people actually should try new things and experiment, and then show what they've done with pleasure and uh, and uh, and uh, and and intrinsic motivation with pleasure of doing things. So this is my message to the students, to the participants. I also want to thank the mentors. Um, Maybe the message for the mentors is that in the end, the most important thing is that actually the students in the end get to have to be the owners of the project, and they the projects belong to them, and that they can actually continue building communities around that student think you can continue building communities around your project. So the main message is that really, when you go into an open innovation venture, the whole idea is that actually the way your project is going to continue to start and continue during and after the hackathon is really by building communities, finding actually people around you, either online or physically, to actually get some more support, some more help, people helping you to get the project going on the long run. Um, so this is my message. Gopi, do you want me to add something specifically?
Yeah, I think that's really very enlightening for our participants, and I'm sure that down the line we'll be having specific presentations as well on the guidelines, on the different rules for the hack as such. So thank you so much, Thomas, for taking out the time and being with us here today.
Good luck, everyone. I hope there will be great energy, and I'm looking forward seeing the presentations on Sunday and to be part of the looking forward the amazing ideas and projects you are going to develop this weekend. Thank you all, and I will stay online and listen for the presentations coming next.
Sure. Thank you so much, Thomas, for those words. Next, we would like to invite Ms. Aphrodite Antraski. Aphrodite has actually been a key proponent for the SDG hacks, and she's been very instrumental for AIT in putting forth our partnership forward with Unitar, and we expect to have formalized collaboration with Unitar in the coming weeks. That said, it's really a pleasure to have Aphrodite here with us today. And I'd like to invite Aphrodite on stage to talk about UN SDGs and the aging society. Aphrodite.
Thank you very much, Gopi, and it's a pleasure for me to be with you all. A very warm welcome also from Unitar side, partner for this amazing hackathon we'll be having over the next days. Together with AIT and Open Geneva and the University of Geneva. So welcome to our audience here online and all the participants in person. It's great we are able to do this hackathon hybrid. A few words about UNITAR, which is the main training arm of the United Nations. We develop capacity building for sustainable development in all around the world through a set of 7 divisions. And we have until today trained a lot of individuals, over 300,000 from all around the world. But if we want to make progress over the SDGs and their challenges that were established back in 2015, and they were agreed by 190 member states, we really need to train thousands, and we all need to become learners, but more than that, practitioners and innovators of the goals and for addressing the goals challenges. And what is certain is that we cannot do this alone. And this is why we are very happy to bring this collaboration forward through the hackathon, and to bring this to you, to everybody who represent the future leaders and the next generation of innovators for the Sustainable Development Goals. And today you come with a motivation to find optimal digital solutions for challenges connected to the older persons and persons with disabilities. And I want to mention that these are both populations directly affected by COVID, which is still an ongoing crisis all around the world and has pushed back and is reversing on top of that progress we have made over the past years. And especially for the older persons, and when talking about aging and the aging society, COVID has pushed back for more vulnerability, neglect, less social and economic well-being, and a weakened focus for the older persons in socioeconomic and also humanitarian response. And the aging society is growing. We know the facts and the statistics globally. The population aged 65 and over is growing faster than all other age group. And by 2050, 1 in 6 people in the world will be over the age of 65. So this is a development issue we need to address. And the more we decide to address these challenges with innovation and to see the changes we face and the challenges in our society as an opportunity for progress, this is where we decide that we can make an impact. And innovation can support this path towards progress. This is all your work in this hackathon, but also the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals and the Agenda 2030 can equally support innovation. Because other than setting direction with the goals, with all the targets, with all this nice framework, with tools and indicators we can use and utilize for innovation, most importantly, and where I want to put the focus on is that it's sense and mindset in which we can approach innovation with collaboration, with universality, and it characterizes, of course, the nature of this agenda. So this is fundamental for change, this mindset, and this is what we want to bring through all the hackathons and through this hackathon as crucial component to address and think innovation in this way and develop, of course, resilience. This is your work. You will own your learnings from the bootcamp, and you will own also your solutions to tackle real challenges and find optimal solutions. So I encourage you all to take part, to collaborate, to work with your groups. And I'm looking forward to the next days. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aphrodite, for your words. And we look forward to a big hand for Aphrodite, please. Thank you. We look forward to seeing you again, Aphrodite, for your boot camp, which will follow our next session. With that, it's indeed a great pleasure to have the president of AIT, Dr. Eden Woon, with us here today. May I take this opportunity to invite him on stage to give a few words of motivation and formally launch the first edition of the AIT SDG Open Hack.
Hello, everyone, and good afternoon or good morning to all those who are online. I'm glad to know that there are 14 teams from actually around the world that are participating. Of course, most of the teams are here at AIT or in Geneva. And I want to thank the co-organizers along with AIT, the University of Geneva, the Open Geneva, UNITAR, of course, and Tsinghua, the Geneva Tsinghua Initiative. And I hope that all of us collaborating will make this a extremely meaningful and useful program. For the sake of the people who are online, maybe you're not too familiar with AIT, but AIT is a institution, a graduate institution, that really spends a lot of effort and energy and passion on sustainability. And in fact, we have been participating for the last 3 years in the Times Higher Education Impact Rankings, which measure how universities do in terms of trying to accomplish the 17 SDGs. We were honored to be ranked very high in a couple of the SDGs. For example, in SDG 1, no poverty, we were 1 year ranked as high as number 15 in the world, and number 19 or another year. And in overall of all the SDGs, we rank last couple of years in the top 101 to 200 in the world. And so we're very proud of that, and we feel that obviously there's always room for improvement, but I think that it tells you the significance we place on the SDGs, because in order to get these rankings, you have to excel in research, you have to excel in campus operations, you have to excel in outreach to the community, and you also have to excel in learning and teaching on the SDGs. So we are very, very focused on this very important work that the whole world, and unfortunately, as the Aphrodite has said earlier, COVID has prevented us from focusing our energy as it should be on the SDGs. Climate change, as you know, is one big, serious problem for the human race for decades to come. So I'm glad that on this particular SDG Open Hack, we are addressing some of these issues. And secondly, we're here gathered in the Entrepreneurship Center of AIT. And you see here the in-person, and we're very glad that we're slowly becoming more in-person, because as the COVID situation slowly improves. I know that COVID is still around. Everybody's still very careful. And those of you watching overseas will see that we still have the people in masks here, and we're still very, very careful. But there's no doubt that the activity of in-person is is returning. Now, one of the sort of the effects of COVID is a positive one, is a negative one in that the in-person was drastically reduced, but it has a positive one because now we go all over the world via Zoom and via online access. And so that in the past, if this was run, say, 4 years ago, then we would just see a group of people here, and probably, many of the people who are online today would not be able to come and join. But now they can join online, and the interaction can go across, across the air, and it actually brings this collaboration to a greater segment of the student population than before. So that's one benefit, quote unquote, of COVID. Okay, so I hope that all of you will work together. And as a final note, I just look forward to this entrepreneurship center was set up in September of 2019, so it's almost coming up to a 3-year anniversary. But we really hope that we'll do more hackathons, we'll do more of these brainstorming, trying to use all your brain power, all your energy to solve some very important problems. And I hope that the next 72 hours or 48 hours will come up with some very fruitful ideas. And I want to end on a personal note. I hope that you come up with some good ideas because, number one, I'm an old person. So that's part of the topic of the day. And number two, I have a bad hip, so I'm about to be disabled. So if you can come up with something that can really help me personally, I will personally thank you. I may fly to Geneva to thank you if it has some personal positive effect. So all of you, welcome
Recording
to this.
in progress.
Okay. All of you, I wish you luck, and I wish you come up with great ideas. And I thank the people online who are participating, and I hope that you have a great SDG hack, open hack in here at AIT, and of course online for the next couple of days. So thank you very much, and good luck.
We will be having a group photo session. So can everyone come on stage? We take it with the president. Yeah, for our participants online, it will be great if all of you all put your cameras on. We'd like to see all of you all together. Yeah, thank you.
please be ready. Online participants will be taking the group photo soon.
Yeah, thank you everyone for so with this photo shoot session, we will go on to the next round of discussions. So I'd like to invite Aphrodite to take the session forward. Aphrodite, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Gopi. And great, we were able to take this group photo from the beginning. I'd like to officially welcome to this first day of the SDG Open Hack, which is for all of you to be prepared for full hands-on tomorrow and on Sunday for your final pitches. So this training is brought to you by the partnership between UNITAR, the University of Geneva, and Open Geneva. If we can move on to the next slide, and is made possible with the collaboration we developed, of course, and we're very proud partners with the Asian Institute of Technology, and supported, as Thomas mentioned at the beginning, by the Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation. In our next slide, before we begin with our content, we have exciting content that is going to give you background and knowledge on our topic, but also tools and innovative methodologies you can use during the bootcamp, and of course, practical information. But before that, I want to communicate to all our participants online, but also in person, about a few housekeeping rules to make the most out of our work together. So for our online participants, please, if you haven't done yet, display your name in your Zoom name. Please have your cameras turned on and mute your mic where you're not speaking, but unmute when you're invited to contribute. For our participants online and in person, please turn off any distractions you might have, so that you maintain your focus here in our Zoom. You can manage the screen mode from your side in full screen, and you can use the gallery mode or adjust the view of your slides. And when invited to participate in the chat or ask a live question or participate, we will see later on in our icebreaker, we will invite you also for the in-person participants to interact live from directly from the AAT premises. Next, in our next slide, a few words about the SDG Innovation Bootcamp. And going on to the next slide, we our SDG Innovation Bootcamps, they're quite a new concept, and we want to organize a program and for everybody that really wants to make an impact from just an idea. And we believe that a combined education, project-based learning, and hands-on practice, it makes the whole of what you and what we need today to address this global outstanding challenges we face today. And moving on to the next slide, the goals of this bootcamp, because this is a combined education and we want that you take the most out of it and get prepared is really to become familiar with concrete SDG global issues. In our case, we have the digital solutions, but specifically for older persons and persons with disabilities, to learn how you can develop practical, innovative solution to use collaborative and entrepreneurial skills to advance your innovation and practice experiential, hands-on and problems-based learning. And of course, prepare for our SDG Open Hack. And exactly, and these specific challenges, they are for our topic today. And next we will see the relevant SDGs. And the next slide, exactly, it contains the relevant SDGs with these two topics. You will see that, of course, we can apply it under SDG 10, which is reduced inequalities and good health and well-being, but it interlinks with all the SDG areas, and specifically these 10 specific goals. And remember that these goals, they have specific targets, and we will see later on how you can use the framework and the SDG tools to help you develop your innovation. So keep this SDGs in mind. You might want to reference it in your pitch later on. Moving on, I'd like to tell you a bit more about our program schedule today. For that, I'm going to share my screen. Exactly. So you see, we have a rich agenda today. We're ready. We conclude the introduction to our bootcamp, and we will move on with exciting presentations that will get you into understanding about the topic from different perspectives. And we have excellent partners and speakers with us today. And I don't want to get very much into details, because we're going to communicate to you at the end of the bootcamp more about what the program includes for tomorrow. But today, I just want to invite you to stay with us until the end. This is an interactive program, so please stay with us and get the most out of it. So the hacking starts right after a bootcamp, right? So be prepared and get the most out of it. As I said, let's move on. And we have our first speaker that is going to introduce us to the aging society and digital technologies for good. Maybe we can share again. I will share my screen here. Maybe Francie can help me do that, because she has the right slide for us. Thank you, Francie. Because we're not alone here. We are, the work you see here is a result of collaboration between many partners and collaborators. So we have our first speaker, moving on. And I'm very glad to also to meet Mr. Renaud Meyer, who is resident representative to Thailand from UNDP, who's going to tell us about the aging society and digital technologies for good. So thank you very much, Mr. Meyer, for being with us, and over to you.
Great, thanks so much, Aphrodite. Indeed, nice to meet you, a colleague from UNITAR, and a big hello to all of you, the participants of this Open Hack event. Big thanks to our friends in AIT, to Gopi, for inviting UNDP to join. And a very quick personal message to Eden: don't get too old too fast. We want you to stay a little bit more with us, so no rush. It's a pleasure to join you all. I wish I could be with you on campus, but Rangsit is a little bit far, and we're still in full busy mode here in Bangkok. But before I jump into the topic, Aphrodite has presented the link to the SDGs, right, around the topic. But there's one element that I think we should also highlight, which is integral to the Agenda 2030 and the SDG framework, and that's the famous tagline, "Leave no one behind." Right? And I hope that when you will be, pitching your solutions, this principle of leaving no one behind will be at the core, right, of the solutions you offer, because achieving the SDGs, one could argue is just a statistical ambition, right? But the value of leaving no one behind is really speak to the commitment of member states, of the UN, of the citizens to a human rights agenda. And when you think of the elderly today, when you think of course, people with disability, but many other segments of societies that I would argue are as important and as critical as those first two categories that we're zooming in on as per the theme of this event. And it's one doesn't need to go very far to realize that indeed in our societies, the elderly population, I mean, I think of my own country back in Europe, in France, there were a few years ago, I still remember, there was a sudden heat wave that affected Western Europe and France in particular, and largely obviously related to climate change, another one of those SDGs. And it took us a while to realize how lonely and how isolated a lot of the elderly were, literally physically left behind, and which translated into dramatic numbers of people unfortunately passing due to this heat wave, and because they had no one to look after them. People with disability, is unfortunately a common feature in many countries where I've been serving the United Nations, where despite knowing very well that statistically, there's around 15% of the population in any given country that is affected by one or more disabilities, when you take disabilities of all kinds. And clearly you wonder when you walk in the streets where they are, because you don't see, 10 or 15% of the people you see in the street as having a disability. So really this principle of leaving no one behind, which resonates with the commitment of all of us to human rights, is extremely important. But let me also argue that, especially when you look at the aging, the phenomenon of aging society, which we see here in Thailand and many other countries, has a profound effect on the overall SDGs. Right? And it's not just from a perspective of, the health aspect, which is very often the one that people think immediately of. But think of the ramification on the labor force, for example, right? Or on the inequalities that I've just mentioned, or on the type of social services that are required in any given society, whether it's health or education or family, mental health services. I mean, I think there was a big push on mental health and well-being in the post-COVID era, and only recently, are we hearing public policies explicitly referring to the need to address mental health issue in society, whereas for the longest time it was very much seen as a taboo, and a lot of discomfort when you link mental health to aging. To mental illnesses like dementia, for example, which were totally and in many cases still very much untalked about. So we are in a period, and I think we should really acknowledge this and leverage it in a way, and maybe that's also part of the whole agenda of this event is to really put out in the open, some issues that were unfortunately too much left unspoken about, and that with the objective of course improving the quality of the societies where we live in. Now, zooming in on the topic of aging and people with disability and the link to digital solutions. I mean, it's an obvious link that many people are doing right now. But I want to take a little bit of time to unpack this and to be as helpful to you as I possibly can. Aging, you know, a lot of people think, and I guess this was the joke that Eden was sharing with us. You know, that there's a health dimension to it, right? And the problem, of course, is going to translate into increased public bills of hospitals, and more attention, you know, on especially on the care society, right? The whole economy of care, which is very much undocumented and very much in the informal sector in many societies that are in development. But that translates into, again, a direct impact on additional inequalities, because we know, for example, that in many societies, a majority of the care services is provided by women, and that comes at the detriment of other activities that they could have. And as we know, a lot of it is unpaid and unacknowledged in public accounts. So you know, there is a kind of a domino effect, right, on this from the get-go, from the beginning of an observation that we are living in an aging society. But let's look also at the need not only to provide healthcare services, but just occupational activities, because in parallel to the aging society, you know, one of the factors of aging is not only the demographic imbalances, it's also the longevity that is increasing for the elderly, right? And so they live longer, and they don't automatically live unhealthier, because there is also a correlation between longevity and the quality of life. And those people, and this is mental health service practitioners who explain this way better than I, if they are unoccupied, this is where and when you know, mental health actually gets aggravated, right? So society also needs to think of occupational activities to not only keep the elderly population and the growing elderly population occupied and busy, intellectually challenged, which means, you know, inventing and creating activities. But if we do, then we might as do it in a way that is beneficial not only for the individual but for society. Right? So how do we leverage this kind of a phase two of somebody's professional occupancy, which doesn't have to be, you know, the same as what they were doing during their professional careers, but in a way that it also is a reinvestment in society for the benefit of the newer and younger generations. So, you know, one can expect an increase in such occupancies, and to a great extent needs to be invented. But then also for those who are providing the services to the aging, a need to rethink the skill sets that are required. Right? And as so the aging doesn't affect only those who are, I don't want to say the victims of aging, but the subject of aging, to be more neutral. But then you also have to think of the wider impact on labor in our societies, where you know, a lot of jobs are going to have to be rethought. So, and this is where you start seeing an automatic link with, or yeah, I mean, yeah, and a kind of an automatic link to digital solutions, because this will be made possible by the progress that we're making on automation, on the introduction of robots, who are going to be able to replace those skills that are being now diverted to support and to care for the elderly segments of societies, and those, you know, less strong skilled required jobs to be able to be replaced by machines and by artificial intelligence and robots. So this is where we see a first kind of very natural link between the elderly and the aging phenomena and digital solutions. But of course, digital solutions, one would also think, and I'm sure a lot of you will be, you know, looking towards that direction, of digital solutions that will make the lives of the people who are growing older more comfortable, easier, right? And that's, I would imagine, the major thread of the thinking. And this is good news, right? I mean, this is obviously something that we welcome. So I'm not going to dwell too much on it because, I mean, all of us are fairly familiar with that aspect. But what I want to highlight maybe more and to bring your attention on is a few more potentially negative consequences of this, right? of aspects of it. The first one is the concept that we maybe younger generation take for granted, because for those younger generation, and I see it with my own kids who are now teenagers, their comfort with digital tools is amazingly high, right? And there is almost an intuitive capacity to learn and to manage. When I see the dexterity with which they use their PlayStation controllers, I'm scared for the quality of their ligaments in their fingers and how long they're going to be able to keep them up, right? But this is not the same for older generation, right? So there is, this what we call the digital gap in terms of skills that sometimes is overlooked. And one should not take for granted that everybody is as comfortable as the newer generation when it comes to handling digital tools. Which means what? Which means that if we go full steam, full speed on counting on digital solutions to provide services and improvements to the lives of the people, and that if that entails some mastery and some skills on some digital skills, it means that those who wouldn't have it would then again be left behind, right? And instead of seeing the digital solution as an empowerment tool, you see this as a source of additional and widening gap between those who have and those who don't, between those who have the skills and those who do not master the skill, and who would either not want or wouldn't be able to acquire them at this late stage of their life. So again, a word of caution in terms of thinking that, is just a question of going straight forward. And then there are more, I would say, matter of fact realities, right? We all know that digital solutions, is highly reliant on access to energy, access to the net. This is now in today's societies and more countries, a given in urban areas, less of a reality in rural areas. And we know that with aging, there is also a very natural tendency either for the aging population to remain in rural areas where they have lived all their lives, or even if they had migrated to cities, to wanting to go back to their communities of origin, right? So meaning going back to more rural and isolated areas of a country where access to net, access to energy may not be as reliant and as straightforward as it is in the city. So this link between digital access and access to the grid and to the energy and to the internet, is something that one should not also take completely for granted. And then there's a final element, which I think is also extremely important, and we see this in many countries also happening, and it's always a very, very sad stories. Because of the limited understanding of digital solution and the mastery of digital skills with the elderly, when they start, fiddling with, it's very easy for them to be misdirected, to be manipulated. Right? So there's also, again, and I'm coming back to a rights issue, a very important element to take into consideration, which is digital solutions, will rely one way or another on accessing, this very often an element of accessing data, of securing data, of a repository of data, and that requires a whole of governance, approach to this data. So the minute that, arguably for tailoring a digital service to an individual, you need information from that individual. Well, that information, what do you do with it? Where do you store it? Who has access to it? How do you limit its use, for the purpose that you had initially defined, and that is not going to be misused for something else. The number of fraud, of misuse, of even criminal intent in many societies today, where you see usually the elderly being the target because they are easy targets, right? Because again, due to their limited understanding and knowledge of those new digital tools, of people with bad intention who are going to, completely siphon off all their savings, put them on some schemes that are just a total ripoff, and abuse the initial intent of wanting to support them and wanting to provide some support. Now, of course, I'm zooming in here on the negative because I trust that all of you, will more easily think of the positive, right? Because if you're in this program, I take it, maybe wrongly, but I don't think so, for granted that you're here because you want to contribute positively to society, right? But what I'm trying to say, and this, I'm going to wrap up because I had limited time for all this. But, my takeaway message for all of you are a few. One, always try, before you zoom in on a digital solution or on any kind of solution for a given problem, really try to take a holistic approach, right? To take a systems approach to the issue that you're trying to look at, right? Try to, before diving, kind of take a step back and look at the ramification of the challenges. Try to understand the ins and outs and the linkages of that situation or that challenge to the others. And remember that slide that we saw from Aphrodite, how there are a few SDGs that are very clearly targeted, but then there is a ramification, right? And that's one of the beauty and also the challenges of the SDGs is their interlinkages. And that interlinkage is just a symptom of our lives in our societies today, where whatever we do has a direct impact either on somebody else or on another issue that is just hiding behind the first one, right? So always try to, before zooming in, take this holistic approach and really try to understand fully why something is the way it is and how it can be addressed. Because if you take too many shortcuts or zoom in too quickly, you end up, very often to limited impact, or in some worst cases, to actually harming rather than helping because of the negative consequence of an action that you had not thought of. That's number two. That's number one. Number two is again, try to look at the pros and cons, right? And if you are in the business of providing services, what I see very often is people full of good intentions, right? But they just miss that very important step of putting themselves in the shoes of the beneficiary, right? And I'm not talking about you and going into the shoes of that person with your own grid of analysis, with your own feelings, with your own knowledge and your own educational attainment. I'm talking about, trying to really put yourself in who that person is, right? And unless you do that, again, with all the good intent in the world, you may have some misconceptions, right? And a completely biased approach to a given situation. Do no harm. That principle that we usually apply to humanitarian assistance, and where it came from originally, more and more now we tend to apply it to any development situation. Why? Again, because this is triggered by the interlinkages of a lot of the issues that we're seeing unfold in our world. And unless, and to me, it's a non-negotiable principle, right? And with the digital world, you're adding in many ways simplification and facilitation thanks to the support of the technology, but you're also opening sometimes a can of worm that is sort of Pandora's box that is full of other aspects, and that is extremely important to anticipate and try to, and this is why exercises that we call today foresighting and modeling are so important, because sometimes when the box is open, it's very difficult to put anything back in that box and reclose it. So again, a word of caution. Nothing is straightforward. Nothing is one-sided. right? There's always pros and cons in everything, and be very careful. And when you come up with solutions, and no solution will be risk-free, right? And then so I'm certainly not suggesting to run away from any risks, or to dump any solution that would present, but then immediately, like, first of all, acknowledge the situation and then offer mitigation measures, right? So don't just dump it because it's too risky. No, sometimes we live in the risky world anyway. So it's more about managing the risks through mitigation measures and guarantees or self-insurance schemes, etc., that will show not only your full understanding of the solutions that you are offering and its impact, but that you are already anticipating and offering prevention measures that will limit the risk and reduce it to a level that it becomes affordable or acceptable to a society. Because there's no silver bullet in any of what we do. I think I'm going to stop there because there's a lot to say on the situation, but it's really exciting to have those teams spend, and I really am always in admiration when I see young people ready to devote a whole weekend to this type of work for society, instead of just hanging out or going to the mall or going to fishing, going swimming, or whatever it is that a lot of people go doing. So a big kudos to all of you, and congrats for all of you. And I look forward to the results at the end of the hackathon. Thanks very much, Kapung Khao.
Thank you very much, Renaud, for kicking us off, for introducing us to this topic so wonderfully. I personally found that it's great that we present the opportunities, but also the challenges, and keeping in mind what we should consider as limitations. They're very important. It made me think of responsible innovation, and also about the skills that we need, and they are also defined by other UN partners or agencies for the SDGs. But I would say mostly that we need these skills of systems thinking, of contextual intelligence, for innovating and to address these challenges. So very important insights. Thank you so much for kicking us off in this way and introducing us to the topic. I would like now to welcome questions. I know also mindful of the time as well, but I want to give this first round of questions to Renaud from our online participants, but also people in the room. And I see we have one question in the chat. I'm not sure if there are questions from our in-person audience. Navid asks how we can overcome the challenges of innovation while incorporating with entrepreneurship, especially for those who innovate but not inclined to businesses. It's
it's a very good question. That's the big difference between social innovation and social entrepreneurship, right? And one doesn't, they can get together, but they don't automatically have to, right? And I think the last point you make, Navid, is very important, because not everything has to become a business, right? Now it's very difficult to upscale a social innovation solutions without investments. Also, that's also an economic reality. But one has seen, and this is a lot of what we do in UNDP is we mobilize social innovators to come up with solutions, and sometimes it's not the same people who will upscale it and take it to an economic activity level. This is where you find a lot of those impact funds and accelerators or incubator, supporters of incubators who are ready to step in, provided that the solution is clear and moves forward. And this is also to a large extent, how in our societies we see a complementarity between a civil society and the NGO sector and then the business sector. Right? And it's not about one is good and one is bad. No, I mean, I think we've way past this kind of confrontation between civil society and the business. And today's business, I mean, if you're an entrepreneur and you still haven't understood that unless that yes, you should be profitable, right? Otherwise you don't have a business, but you cannot be profitable and go against the trends of what society is needing, because your model will simply not be sustainable, either from an environmental ecosystem impact perspective or from a social, and governance impact perspective, or both. Right? That's which is even worse. Right. So I think we today the advocacy that we used to do, maybe 5, even 10 years ago on why businesses have to take into consideration impact on society, impact on environment, we spend less and less time on doing this because it's a given, right? I mean, the business people and the business sector has opened its eyes on this, and the concept of doing well but also doing good is now seen as a complementarity and not as opposing each other, right? So no, I mean, again, I mean, there's not a black and white answer that we should give to that question, but I don't think they automatically go together. And if an individual or a group of individuals are not simply interested, business is a profession, right? I mean, I would not suggest to anyone who is not interested in business to feel like they have to do it, because usually it fails, right? It's a mindset. And there's nothing wrong in simply saying, I'm sorry, but I'm just not interested. Right? Those who have tried private sector and have come back to the public sector, is a good example of that. It's not just made for everyone.
Thank you, Renaud and Navid, for your question. I don't see any more questions here from our online participants or any raised hands. Gopi and AIT team, would there be any questions from the room? We cannot hear you. All right. I believe there wouldn't be, but yes, I heard a mic opened.
Yes.
Sorry, Aphrodite, we were having problems with the microphone. I guess the participants are getting warmed up, so I guess they're having their questions ready. So no questions right now from the room here. But a personal thank you to Mr. Renaud for taking his time out for a very enlightening talk. Thank you so much, Mr. Renaud from AIT.
Always my pleasure, Gopi. All the best for the continuation of the event. Good luck to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us. Thank you very much, Renaud. So let's move on with our contents, and I want now to invite, because Renaud kicked us off very nicely in the topic, and there are challenges for you that you have chosen or you will choose to address together in the team. And I want to invite in this part now, Professor Nofia Sasaki, with whom we're working very closely to introduce a little bit about the hackathon and the specific challenges, and think about also combining with what Renaud introduced us about the opportunities and the challenges, and how you would go about taking your innovation approach. So I think it's a good moment now to present our hackathon challenges. Nofia, over to you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. I think I feel so strange to stand. I usually sit in front of the computer, and now I need to stand in the class. I think it's been 3 years already by now that I don't stand in front of the class. But again, welcome myself back to the class. So I will try to go up short so that you can have a more question on what you are going to do. So, but short in a way that at least I understand that this is the basic information you need to understand. Okay, so can I see the slide? So I'm Nopia Sasaki. I'm a professor at the Department of Development and Sustainability. So I major in nature-based carbon captures. And I have my own startup as well. So I have 3 of my students found up the startup, one in the Philippines, one in Thailand, no, 2 in Thailand. So the startup is working. So I can share my experience how you can bring your idea from today until in the next 1 or 2 years, you can see how your idea would grow. Okay. Okay, so, okay, right, Shawat?
We can also pull it up from our side here, sharing of the screen.
Okay, now.
Perfect, we can see. Perfect.
Okay, so I just want to give a brief background what we are going to to challenge this upcoming few days. So first, a brief background. So here, based on the data we have, in today you have about 700 million people which have the age of 65 years old. I'm not yet there, but some of them already there. So what does it mean? What it tells in the next in 2050 you will have this number would be more than double 1.5. So what bad or good should be there. But if you look at the number here, let's say example here, for example, in case of Thailand, you see in 1980 you see a lot of young people here in the graph here. And 40 years later, you see all the graph move, the young people become aging society. So what does it tell here? At the same time, if you look at the internet, you don't have internet in the 1980, right? In around 1990, you don't have it. But now, a lot of information coming at the same time. Do you think these people can get used to it quickly as they're supposed to? So that's one thing. It doesn't mean they cannot do it, but they need to learn, they need to capture. That is why we are here today to help them make use of the information so that we can improve their wellness. Okay, so keep that in mind. If you see the graph here, I think you can come up with different ideas. To me, you can see, like say, aging population, for example, even you have the food, you know that some people understand this food is healthy, they should eat healthy food. But why don't they eat it? Why don't they eat it? And in the reality, if you look at the data, the people who can really eat what they're supposed to eat only is about 10 to 15% of that. Why is that? That is the reality. And if we can have a solution that can improve that, well, you can increase from, say, 10, 15% to 20%, for example. Then you can take 0.5% multiplied by 1.5 billion. You know how many already that could be part of your solution. So that's how you can impact them. Okay, so that's why for now, what we need to understand, now we see that aging population is coming for sure. And then we have technology coming as well. How we can make use of that technology that we can improve their wellness. Okay. And I put one more slide here. So mine only for showing. Okay. Okay, so one more thing. Okay, so you see the data now. In the past 5-8 years, data are not freely available. You don't find data as much as we have today. Now we have a lot of data. We have all the processing information. What we need now is our own idea. How can we make use of this information to make things better for especially for aging population? If you go back when I was a student like you, if I want to have a data, I need to buy a lot. But now everything becomes free. Can you make use of that to help the aging population? Okay. If you start thinking, if you compare yourself to others, you will not be able to do it. Believe me. If you can think from inside yourself, how you can make use of the information. Then you'll start to find way to do it. Okay, so that I will leave it to you. In the next 1 or 2 days, you will see who you are, how you can make use of your own talent in the real world. Now you don't know, I think you are still here and there, but I'm sure by tomorrow, you will see who can you really do it in 1 or 2 days. You will see that. Okay, that's why, so the objective of this hackathon is to bring your talents as a challengers sitting in the room here and online together to solve the problem together within I say 22 hours. Can we do that? I believe you can do it, and you will be surprised how much you can do it. And I can share your experience because of the time. I will share later. Okay, when you have a question, I can share later. But I will continue to do this. Okay, so we want to have your talent, and if you keep working within yourself, within your own team, you will find something useful. Believe me, you will find something useful. Next, please. Okay, and that is the challenge top. The topic for your challenge in the next 2 days. So this is providing a guideline. It kind of hint for you what you can expect, from us to get from you. But as we see here, you can have your own challenge. We see that out of the 14 teams we received, 6 of you have already identified, 6, right? Or 8, 6. 6 of you already identified the teams, the topics to hack, and then the other not yet. So we will discuss about that in the next slides. So the first topic, we give you solution for healthy food. So this is something that you can think of, how you can provide solution that could make sure that we can either letting people eat healthy food, for example, we know that we should eat food 3 hours before sleeping, for example. Can we have any technology that would inform them that, okay, now you need to eat food, or you should not eat now because it's too late, or you should eat on time? Those kind of things you can think of. Or you can ask them to change behavior, not to eat heavy food at night, and then instead eating in the morning. Those kind of things you can think of. If you keep thinking from your own experience, think about your own house, looking about your house, looking at your parents, and then after that, looking at your outside. And then you can see something that you can start to play around with it. So that when you do something that starting from ideas, what we always look at, we look for the niche, the market that you can get in there. And after that, you can scale up, and become big one. Okay. And so the second one, if we want to have a solution for healthcare, so how digital technology and innovation can advise or improve health of elders and people with disabilities, or create convenient access to the appropriate healthcare service. This you can also think of. I could not think everything for you, but you can think of, for example, if your Gopi, sorry, you tell me the time. Otherwise, I would just go too long. The time, okay. Sorry, if I have a microphone, I don't know how long I'm going to talk. So yeah, just alert me. Okay. So let's say healthcare, for example. If an aging population get the medicine, do you think they can drink on time? And why they don't drink? Or okay, so okay, maybe I will leave it to the question. Okay. So then So think about that. Think about your own experience, looking at your own parent, and then start from there. You can find a way to improve things better. Okay. And the number 3 is about solution for communication. So this is something that, again, sometimes, this is one thing I can give example very specifically. You see a lot of emails, spam email coming to your parent or to your friend, even sometimes to your friends, and asking for, hey, you need to pay this by this, or your phone has been billed and you need to pay for that. can you have technology that you can communicate with them, that you can detect this kind of signal that this is a bad email and it should not go to them? And this kind of thing you can think of. Or you can think other way around, how you can improve the communication within the family. Let's say, aging people tend to have difficulty in talking, let's say, with a young boy or girl. Find a way how they can communicate that better. So if you can think about that, start from small, and then after that, you try to search for it. Then you will find a solution. You will find a problem that people are facing. Okay, start from that. Find a small of 1 or 2 keywords, and then scale up from there. And then you will start finding more and more. Okay, and then other solution about transportation. So this is, I think people already know. But like say, if our building, for example, what do you think if you have an aging population coming to visit our university and they don't have facility that can, transport them here and there? What do you think? So even if you already have it, can you make it better? I think if you keep thinking, you go there and sit and watch for a while, I think you will find something. You'll find something that you want to make it better. So that way you start to take note of it, and then you start to think about it. If one more thing I can give you an idea, if you find something useful, take note of it. Don't trust your brain. Take note of it, then your subconscious mind will pick up. And that way you can come up again later. So that's what we call it. You plant the seed in your brain. Every time you take note, the seed come into your brain. If you just remember, believe me, if you don't take a note, it will not come to here. Believe me, it just go here and there. And then the other solution is about daily exercise. This is how we can have technology that improve their daily, exercise, making sure that they understand those things that make their life more better. And we put more here. This is a free where you can propose a challenge you want to challenge, as long as it's falling within the scope of our hackathon. Okay. Like, we ask you to come up with solution of aging population and solution that would help disability people. Then you come up with solution for how to swim, how to catch a fish. That maybe that is not relevant. Okay, so try to keep that in mind. And then how we organize, I think our previous speaker already explained. We have 3 sessions. Bootcamp today, we give you some basic idea how you would learn, what tool you needed for communication. That is a bootcamp. So, and then tomorrow, you will have a hacking time. Maybe you can start from tonight. It's up to you. Usually we start from tonight, and then work with your team, how to identify the problem within a challenge. Okay, we will come to that point later. And the third day is about pitching, that on Sunday. So after you hack one day, then you come up with your teams, now translate your idea into a business concept, what we call pitch decks, where you can convince people in 5 minutes. Can you do it or not? That's also a way to learn. So what we want to train you, it's not just about having the product, the skill to get from your team, working with the team, selecting the topic, until preparing the solution in just 5 minutes. That is the skill we want to give to you. Okay, the product we give to you today, maybe you forgot tomorrow. But the skill you get today, it will stay with you forever. Whatever field you want to apply, it will be with you. So stay there, keep that in mind. And yes, you need to select a challenge. And for your information, we have 6 mentors in different fields, and you have 14 teams. So what you would do, if you have any problem, let's say you identify a problem and you want to make sure that it is valid or not, and you want to get some additional idea, then ask your mentor. You can ask the mentor directly, or you can communicate with us. We can set up a breakout room for you to discuss, and we are here to help you. Okay? Don't be afraid to do that. Keep asking. The first 2 questions, everyone get nervous. But if you go more than 2 or 3 questions, it becomes normal. So that make yourself become normal. That where your idea can. And then we have, we use Sparkboard. So I think our technical team will explain about that. Sparkboard, we use Slack, Facebook page, and Zoom for all communication. Okay, please stay with us, and we will teach you how to do that. And to make you more energized, to make you refreshed from every, after your hard work. We will have cultural show that students from different countries, they will show their cultures and make you maybe stay awake a little bit. So that we plan to have it. And then, yeah, the team, your solution, your pitch decks will be evaluated by qualified jury. So then you will get, the score based on that. Sorry, and this is, I already said earlier, our objective is it's not about getting the product done today or tomorrow, the day after tomorrow. So we want you to design your own thinking, come up with something important through using the tool and try to practice it. And as I said earlier, your soft skill, okay, that is, believe me, the product you will get today, it become an exercise for you, but all the soft skill you will get, that will stay with you forever. And all the intelligence, you come up from different cultural backgrounds, that also will make you feel that when you have your own company, when you start working with people, you understand, you value the opinion of different people from different cultures. Sometimes you tend to believe that you are the one who know everything. But when you start working with a business, that's sometimes completely wrong. Sometimes you may say, oh, I know everything, I don't listen to anyone. What you know is completely wrong. It could be wrong. So try to listen and then get some ideas. So that's the skill we want you to learn also. And then put your skill into practice. So that's the thing we also wanted to see, to get from this. And this is our speaker and mentor. We have professors. We have, maybe I don't need to call the name. So we put all this one already in the Spark board. Just go there, and then you will see their contact information, and then you will speak. Don't be scared. Try to communicate with them, and then you will get something back. And we are with us. I will be here with you. I will stay awake with you. I will try to accommodate questions from here and from online student also. Okay, and this is the name, and you will see the name, their contacts. And then this is the organizing committee. So we have a lot of students, and professor here has been working on this topic. We have also students from Geneva universities, from in Switzerland. So we are looking to make this happen. If you have any problem, let us know. We will be with you. Okay, I think for that I would stop my talk, but I'm happy to take the question. So the floor is back to you.
Thank you very much, Nofia. Great advice, and you see that exactly we're many people involved, and the message also from our side is we are here for you. So would there be any questions? We're right on time. Nofia just kept exactly the 20 minutes time given to present this very important practical information about our hackathon. So would there be any questions? Here from our online participants, I don't see any raised hand, but please feel free to put your questions in the chat. We will reply to you, and then I'm sure you will have many opportunities on site for participants there in the AAT premises to get responses to the questions. So with that, I'd like to move forward with our program. So today we're gonna be hearing, we will have 2 more interventions to dive into the topic. And we have 2 topics that are interconnected, but they're also particular and separate in the sense and innovating about each one of them. So we will both be introduced on digital solutions for the aging society, and later on also for persons with disabilities. So first, for the Aging Society and for older persons, we have with us, and it's a pleasure to meet Mr. Tad Hachaliha, if I pronounce, and excuse me if I don't pronounce the name correctly, who is Senior Executive at Join and Coin Corporation. A pleasure to meet you, and thank you for being with us, and over to you. I believe Nofia and Gopi will
Okay.
have our
Right.
great.
So can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Okay. And I think I am 2 meters from the audience. So can I take off my mask? Not convenient at all right now. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I would like to give a sharing session and my passions to start up the business 7 years ago. Again, my name is Tad, Tad, and my last name is Hatchali Laha. That sounds kind of Indian, right? But actually, it's not. I am Thai. And my grandparents, they are from China, and their surname, their last name is Lee. So when they came to Thailand, they named their surname as Hatchali Laha. So that is the thing going on a long time ago. So, okay, first of all, let me introduce myself. So I am really, really exciting to be here and feel delighted to be here as well on giving a talk to the outstanding AIT students. I believe you are master degree, right? Anyone here is PhD or DBA? You? One? Are you DBA, right? No. So I am DBA student. I I am DBA candidate. I have already defend my topic and uh, done a lot. Have been doing a lot of dissertations. Right now I am on chapter 4. So wish me luck. Yeah, and right. So I refer to my dissertations that my topic is about finding the entrepreneurial intentions among Thai about on Thai elders people. So meaning that since we are in aging society in Thailand, I believe that in years 2020, Thailand have about 20% in terms of people who reached at 60 years old, right? If I am not wrong. And do you know that we have less and less labor force right now because the new generations like us will not get married. Even me, I'm still single by the way. I'm not get married, and I think the cost of living is tend to be higher every year. Especially right now, we have things going on political, the new wave of the change and the oil price, the I don't know things going high cost, and that lead to lower fertility rate too. And do you know that in Thailand, um, people who people people at about 40 years old in Isan. Have you ever been to Isan? Maybe you're not Thai, you don't know. In Isan, I think more than 50% of Isan, which is the north of Thailand, northeast Thailand, people there when they reach to 40 years old, they actually become grandparents already because they get married in really early in their life, like 18, they get married and they have kids, 2 or 3 kids, their home. Why I share to you this story? Because 7 years ago, I finished my master degree from German, from Munich. I studied about sharing economy. At that time, I I found out that the concept of sharing economy it's was very amazed to me. The concept of BNB, the concept of Grab or Uber. I mean Uber. Like you have some property and others don't have money to pay for that, pay for the consumption, so they just rent other asset, and there is a middle guy who act as a platform to mismatching the supply and demand and creating the business model. So when I study about sharing economy and about digital marketing in German in Munich, I study at Ludwig Maximilian University. Anyone know that? 100 years old university. But when I came back to Thailand 7 years ago, I had the family business as well. The company name JNC or Join and Coin. The business it's about retail, wholesale, direct selling business, and we have been in Thailand for over 20 years already. And JNC is about to list it in Thailand stock market. The market shares of the business right now per year is about 1,000 million Thai baht, and we have about 30,000 product SKU, including household consumer product, agriculture, as well as uh, the supplementary product. And we also have our own factory to produce good. And we have about 200 retail store in Thailand. And right now we expand business to Laos, Cambodia, and Myanmar. Right. So I refer back to my family business because this relate to the topics of elders and how the digital solutions can improve the life of elders, and what this story relate to my dissertations on entrepreneurial intentions amongst old people in Thailand. All are connected and relate to what I thought about. I study sharing economy in German as well. But first of all, let's take a look at this picture. What do you see here? You see many people, you see many products, you see the traffic of people, you see the communities, right? Okay, this is my family business, retail, which is in the south of Thailand. This is called JC Mall. So when we talk about business, and particularly about the retail business, we think about the detail. So retail is about detailing. So my family have to purchase goods, we have to do merchandising, we have to do logistics, we have to do promotion. We have to pay the manpower for about 500 people. And we have this kind of shop for almost every city in Thailand. Okay, so let's imagine one day you happen to be second generations of the company, and you wake up every day. You have to pay like 300,000 Thai baht every day for the fixed cost. So what would happen when you become the next CEO? You may think uh, about how to generate more revenue, right? And how to lower the cost, something like that. So this was the feeling that came to me when I finished my master's degree from Germany and came back to Thailand. So I thought to myself, what business model should I come up with the existing resources and the theory or the knowledge that I learned from Germans about the concept of sharing economy. So 7 years ago, I traveled to Isan here. Okay. Do you like spicy food? Tom tam. 7 years ago, I went to this restaurant, the urban restaurant, and I never tried som tam before in my life. 7 years ago, I tried with the local people. Yeah, I just want to make new friends with the elders 7 years ago. And my friend 7 years ago, this lady, you know, let's guess how old she is here. 50 maybe. Actually, she is 80 already. Believe it or not, this lady is 80, and she lives in nuclear family, in about 20 people in a house. But however, what it means that she, I asked her, so how how she live, and do she have a job when she retired 20 years ago? She said that she have earned the main income from the pension fund, which is about 600 baht, which is about 20 US dollar per month. And since she have many kids and children, so she rely her income on the kids and children, on the 15 kids. So her kids, right, her children and her kids uh, doesn't study in university because everyone have to work and pay the saving amounts of money to her grandparents, you know, and her grandparents also have a debt in informal sector as well, because in Thailand, we are in agriculture country, right? So about 30 people in Thailand are in are farmers or in agriculture business, and the agriculture is very volatile in terms of seasonal goods. So the statement of people are not stable, so that they cannot get borrow from the bank, and that they have to get the debt from the informal sector, and this create the problem to the Thai family in Isan, and it's still going on right now. And some of her children leave their home and come to Bangkok to find a job, but because lacking of the higher educations, mainly of their family study just high school or vocational school, so they cannot have a proper job, and at the end can create some problem to the society. So the elders not only create problems to the elders people, but also create problems to the family and to to the country as well. Because when I recruit new people, particularly for the new gen, uh, I find lots of people, lot of Thai people have the degree in high school or vocational school, but when they start to work, they they don't have a don't have a afford to have analytic skill or much of the criteria that I need. So 7 years ago, when I face this kind of issues, I think to myself on how to make a society to be a better living by creating some kind of marketing tools to these elders people and to the children or to the Gen Z or Gen Y to have uh, to work in the local area with the elders people, because in Thailand we have many people that stay at house and are lonely because they don't have much things to do. They just rely on the pensions and rely on the family income. So since my family business have a physical store like this image in nationwide, I look at the data of my company. So this is the digital transformation part. I take a look at the data of the company and I found out that there are 3 million transactions happens in 20 years, and most of the transactions purchasing the segments are the elders people. Because my family business, I mentioned to you, I have the factory as well, and the factory producing the herbal good, which mainly target to the elders people. So even though I have convenience store, my my own house brand is about health product, so that many people, particularly elders people, usually come to my store to buy this particular product. So I have learned 7 years ago that if my, uh, if I plan to go business more, I should focus on elders people, on the physical store that I have, and the elders people that usually come to my store. But how to make the customer to be loyalty, or to be I would call the partnership to my business. So I thought again that if I open the store like this every day, that means I place my product in the store and wait for the people to buy my product, right? So I changed the concept by having my product like these pictures to be in the customer house by having the digital package. I will show you now. Like this. The digital package mean that normally in Thailand, when elders people stay at their house, when they feel lonely, they would normally open up the mom and pop store. In Thai, we call ร้านโชห่วย You can imagine the mom and pop store, right? They buy stock, they buy product at Macro, Big C, and they resell at their house. But they doesn't have the point of sale or the technology equipment. So when I talk to the lady, 80 years old, they actually have the mom and pop store as well. And she she uh, she cooked some tam for me 7 years ago, and I had food poisoning, and I had to be in the hospital for a few days in Isan. So she felt guilty on having me illness at that time. So she come to hospital and talk to me like many days, and eventually I visit her home, and I want to help her to get out. I would say I would like to help her to get rid of the poverty. Okay, so I help help her children to have a proper point of sale, and I developed the software which is the web-based point of sale, and I give her for free 7 years ago. Okay, and I have a condition that when she use this software, she need to buy product from my store. Okay, so that's the free software plus the product that she needs to buy. Yes, and believe it or not, 1 month later, she she use this software and she can have the revenue in over 1 million baht. Yeah, in over 1 million baht in 1 month. Because the 80 years old, this lady, she lived in the community for so long, everyone know her. And in Thailand, we have a culture of seniority and trusting. So I would like to mention this this thing, because when we talk about startup, people normally think of about hard skill coding and about business plan and technology and process, right? But few people think about the culture dimension, the relationship and empathy and trusting. This is the key issue. you normally read the article in your mobile phone every day in the morning that there's startup, but startup very limited in Bangkok or in big city in Thailand. But if you think in Isan or in border area in Thailand, startup is the rate of startup is very low. Okay, so I transform my business to from retail equipped with the digital technology which is called e-wallet. Okay, e-wallet and the point of sale. The e-wallet is similar to the prompt pay that Thai people use. So when the mom and pop store, the 80 years old, her name is Somnuk. When Somnuk have this point of sale and buy product, they have 1 million purchase in the first month, and that I see the potentials of how to turn my shop to be the showroom and to be the stock kit to the mom and pop store in surrounding area in locally. So apart from having product in their store, the mom and pop store can buy the product online at their house, and I will deliver the product from my store to them every day. So we become like a partnership, like sharing stock. And I have my people, 500 people, 7 years ago as trainee. So I train about digital skills to my employees on how to do live commerce and how to be like personal assistant to the elders people. So my business from retail became learning center as well. And by doing this kind of thing, so I developed from web-based software power sale to be applications for my phone like this and connect the e-payment with Bangkok Bank. And later on, when Somnuk, 80 lady, when she do business, which 7 years ago, and still right now, she's still doing business. She's 89 already, believe it or not. And uh, because one community success to do the digital usage of my product, so she communicate to other community as well, and her family as well, uh, spread the spread the story about how can 80 years old can actually turn their home to be the retail shop with the digital that support from JNC as learning center, this kind of thing. And from the community express to 2, from 2 to 4, 4 to 8. And right now it's become 200 community so far in 7 years. And just yesterday, believe it or not, again, I just received the award in Best Retail Franchise in supporting silver entrepreneur in Thailand by Ministry of Commerce in terms of social contribution. The term silver entrepreneurs, are you familiar with? Silver means the color. It means people who start business when they turn their hair to be silver. That's the term. So silver entrepreneurs, meaning that people who start business at the age of 45 plus plus. This is the word, right? And my main business is about creating silver entrepreneur in Thailand. And yeah, so I can contribute the social impact and receive the award from the WPT of Ministry of Commerce, right? And then okay, this is the pain point I just skipped at the first part. The pain point I found out 7 years ago about aging society, about traditional trade with digital disruption. Like you see 7-Eleven go to urban area and disrupt mom and pop store, and elder people cannot have much cash flow to do business and promotion, and also localization with urbanization as well. This happened in Thailand. So this is the image that I told you guys earlier about having my staff 500 people to go to the rural areas and offer the free package of digital point of sale. That actually come up with a product delivery, right? And this concept worked quite well. Okay, and this is the business platform that I would like to emphasize a bit. So at the middle part, service provider is JNC, Jong and Co as retail. So we provide supply chain for people. We do the mobile applications for the e-wallet. We have the knowledge center training program, and the supplier is people who produce some good but may lack of the distribution channel. We call them suppliers, and we open the platform for anyone who would like to do the product in retail can have product consignment with us. And the partner is the logistic partner, banking partners, and education partner. And at the right side is customer. So people can buy any product from my store and become membership. And this membership mean uh, they can account the point value when they buy product and redemption as cashback, right? So if, for example, you buy noodle and you get 2 points, when you receive 1,000 points, you get 1,000 baht, for example, right? And we have about 3 million membership right now, right? So this is our partner and supplier, right? You see the face of the people. This lady is 50 years old. They turn their they yeah they live in a community. They are friends since they were young, and this lady, the one at the bottom right side, she is the owner. She left her employee full time working at Beer Chang to be entrepreneurs at her home to stay with her mom, and she is very happy because she not only can uh, sustain by her own, she have more time and she can help other people to do business together as well. And this is another store that I help to build the caring economy. So the local product can be placed in the store, and my role is to train the owners to sell the product, and the customer or the local people can come to the shop to buy things and accumulate the point value and return as cashback. So manufacturer, seller, and consumer meet up at this house, right? This is another example. And in every month, I have a free course, 18 course for the elders people to come to learn in my retail shop, and they can learn from Zoom as well, right? Okay, this is the example of another shop in Rayong. He usually do business in agriculture, Tulian, no Tulian, right? But right now she have the package of point of sale, and she can make her garden, uh, uh, some part of her garden to be a shop. And right now she have about 3 million baht in each month. And this lady, when she have more money, she do the viral marketing, uh, tell her friend and tell her relative to buy product, to sell product, and become stakeholder. Yeah. So because the time is limited, I wrap up about 10 minutes on my business model, on how I see the opportunity of elders people in Thailand and making them to be active aging. Active aging, I refer to the UN active aging index. You know, there are 4 dimensions. Perhaps you guys can use these dimensions to your hackathon later on. The 4 dimensions. The first is about employment. Second is about healthy living. Third is about the self-esteem. Self-esteem meaning that these particular elders have the the feeling of acceptance in the community, like like the story that I told you about. I turn the people to be active aging in my learning center, so they feel that they are uh, can adapt with the digital technology, and they can talk with her family, for example. This is self esteem. And the fourth one is about lifelong learning. So I focus on these 4 dimensions in on active aging index. Okay. So yes, if
Thank you
you
very much.
would like to ask anything, you can ask right now or later. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Tad. Great to discover. Also, claps from our side here online. Thank you so much for it's very good to discover about your work, and I'm sure it serves as an inspiring example as well of innovating for the aging, for the older persons, as it's politically correct defined. And thank you also for stating about the human part, and for really connecting technology with sustainability, and keeping in mind that we develop solutions for the specific populations and beneficiaries and users of the solutions, in our case the older persons, and this is very important to always keep in mind. So I see here 2 questions in our chat, and maybe you want to reflect on them, but very quickly. I would suggest looking at the clock here. So one, it comes from Pakini, in terms of if you have faced any challenges in terms of literacy in digital gap when you introduce the system of your business to the elderly, and how did you overcome it? So this is what also Renaud was mentioning as a limitation, things we should consider when developing an innovation, especially for this specific population. And also here Naveed is interested in what are the types of collaboration scope or career opportunities your organization have for technical people. I saw you also give trainings, so you provide trainings to the elderly, so maybe this answers the question around digital gap literacy. But over to you for just a quick reflection, if I may ask on this question.
Okay, so let me answer the first question from Pakini, right? Okay. The challenge in digital gap, I would say digital divide in technical term, right? So as I have mentioned about startup usually focus on the hard skill, not soft skill, right? But what my business model focus on, we focus on the high touch and high tech. So high touch mean there are physical store, there are learning center, there are full-time employees, which is the new generation, like 30 years old, the 30 years old people go to the urban area in the nearby community that they actually working on my shop, and offer a free help with the digital, and act like a local culture. In Thai we call also or volunteer, volunteer, like volunteer people, like Yao volunteer. I have the Yao volunteers in my community to visit the communities and help them to have the digital literacy. Mhm. Yes, and since the local people talk to the local people is actually easier than me or than metro city guys go in the go to the local and talk, and they might develop some like barrier. They might uh, think that I have some hidden agendas or capitalism and like that. So answer the question is that localization marketing is very powerful too. The key factor is about creating trust and having the tangible business model in which I have my family business as retail, so I can I would say uh, transformation easier than other startup, right? And when the elders people learn digital skill, and they can learn and they can practice and they can teach to other elders too, so that it's easier for me. Okay.
Thank you very much, Tad. And to Navid's question around the career opportunities and the collaboration scopes you have, I suggest that you you connect Navid with Tad here, and I know that he's also mentoring as well during the hackathon. So I suggest you stay in touch and you discover about the different opportunities of Tad's business. So thank you very much, Tad. I'm not sure if there are questions from the room, but in the room, or the participants would like to ask some questions. But if not,
Just ask a question.
mhm.
Right.
No. Just want to say no question. I could not.
Okay.
Yeah, I could not see any hand raised here.
Okay.
Wonderful. So thank you very much, Tad, for this, for presenting
thank
about
you.
your business. Thank you. Um, so we are, we concluded this introduction, and right after we want to present you very quickly two very important innovation tools that you can use and you can utilize and you can consider when developing your innovations. And this is a very important part of our bootcamp session, because today it's all about training. It's all about getting prepared for the hackathon. So I invite you to stay with us, because after this presentation of the tools, we will be moving towards the end of our session with some practical information. So I encourage you to continue here in our session. And now I want to just coordinate and see with Nofia and Gopi whether we have a 10 or 15 minutes breaks, because I know that in Thailand is dinner time now. And maybe you people that want to grab the dinner and their snacks, and to continue for a little bit more for a training session. So what do you think, Nofia, Gopi?
Yeah, I think I was told that the food already here, so maybe it just take 10-15 minutes for the participant to go and get food, and then we can continue the session. I think basically we are here, and for the student online, for those online, you can also take a break, maybe grab some food, coffee, and get ready and come back in 15 minutes. So the next session is about tools that you can use, during the hacking and during presenting your pitch deck. I think that's very important. You learn something new. So so I would suggest that we come back in 15 minutes, right? 15 minutes.
Yes, exactly. In 15 minutes.
So let's
and
come
I
back
suggest
at
that
6:15. Okay, 6:15.
Yes, and people online, please stay with us. Don't disconnect. You can just mute yourselves and stop the video if you wish. But we get back very soon to present you about these important tools before we conclude our session today. So see you in a while.
Yes, here we want to get a photo. Yeah. So yeah. Come on, get photo, and then we go for food quickly.
before. It ain't gonna work no more. I've been here before. It ain't gonna work no more. Oh no 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 more. I've been here before. It ain't gonna work no more. No no more. I've been here before. It ain't gonna work no more. I've been here before. It ain't gonna work no more. I've been here before. It ain't gonna work no more. Gun the striped legs, the Spider-Man comes softly through the shadow of the evening sun, stealing past the windows of the blissfully dead, looking for the victim, shivering in bed, searching at fear in the gathering gloom, and suddenly a movement in the corner of the room. There is nothing I can do when realized with fright. The Spider-Man is having me for dinner tonight. Quietly he laughs and shaking his head, creeps closer now, closer to the foot of the bed, and softer than the shadow and quicker than flies. His arms are all around me and his song in my eyes. Be still, be calm, be quiet now, my precious boy. Don't struggle like that, or I will love you more. For it's much too late to get away or turn on the light. The Spider-Man is having me for dinner tonight, and I feel like I'm being eaten by 1,000 million shivering furry holes. And I know that in the morning I will wake up in the shivering
it's okay, ain't gonna end so well. And if you give to show the world how amazing you can be, how amazing you can be, why? Do you believe that little lie? We're gonna need another kind of love. Yeah, we're gonna need another kind of love to survive. If you wanna stay alive, if you wanna stop the bad, if you wanna help someone, if you wanna dissipate war, we're gonna need another kind of love. If you keep to stay away from guilt, how real and true can that be? How real and true can that be now? Can you be free from that? If you give to expect something in return, whether you want it or not, you'll get a little shit out of that. Oh no.
Wonderful. I hope you had a good dinner break. Also for hello, welcome back.
Yes, but okay, so now you can start. Sorry.
Wonderful. Thank you, Nafia. I hope you filled yourself with some energy to continue a little bit more in our SDG Innovation Bootcamp today. And I will dive directly into, and I'm glad to see that we have our the same number of online participants here with us. So thank you so much for your commitment here. I want to jump directly into presenting the first tool, the first methodology that you can use and utilize when you develop your solution. And I want to talk to you. This is me. I'm going to present it because it's a tool we developed from UNITAR together with the University of Geneva, and it's the SDG Innovation Canvas. So this canvas, I want to talk to you about how innovation for sustainable development can be positioned. And this is the tool we have developed, but also what are the key important elements for approaching and building an SDG innovation or a new idea for addressing a challenge or multiple challenges. So it's a methodology we build together with our partners, and is not far from a canvas used by companies. Maybe you know already the business canvas, which is featured in the Business Harvard Review, and it has really gone all around the world to help companies move beyond strategies merely centered around products, but towards more business model thinking and lean startup approaches. So using this canvas as a basis, we have adapted it, and we progressively enrich it with important elements we need to clear out when we design an SDG innovation. So everybody should be thinking about it as a series of hypotheses you need to check along the process of innovation, and that you can always iterate and revise and change along the process. And we have gathered 12 important elements to think through and develop around the canvas. So first, you see here is the SDG innovation outline and sketch. And in business terms, of course, here we will talk about a minimum viable product, which can apply also to your digital solutions and the technologies you will develop. But in our case, this is not enough to have a minimum viable product, because our beneficiaries and users, they are older persons and persons with disabilities. So here we talk about building an environment, putting people in the context of what the experience of this solution might be. So this element, it really responds to what is the solution, to what pain point is solved through the solution. So this can be a mind map, a sketch, or a storytelling of how your innovation impacts one person's and the many. So how it solves more largely the challenge you identify. Second is the team. So I'm trying to be brief and present every element briefly. So what is the most important thing when you have a good idea is to gather a team. And the hackathon is all about team and collective intelligence and group work. So it's important for you to consider about your team people that they're motivated, they're thoughtful, they can contribute and help in practical ways your solution. So you should be able to identify individually where all members, individually and in groups, where all members can help and what is needed or missing as a skill. So also to find and go out there and find people that could be the best contributors. So this is not only about the hackathon and working during the hackathon, but it's also for the future when you develop, and we hope you develop your innovations further. Third is the key innovation, and this is what makes your innovation special. It can be social, it can be technical components. In our case, I suppose it would be mostly about technical components and digital solutions. So there is always one innovation that is unique compared to others around. And this can really come with framing your solution around a specific challenge, a specific problem, and it can make your innovation a little bit more concrete and localized. So you can ask yourself, is this innovation, this technology available in this country, or what is it in the technology you use that makes it unique? Fourth is the SDG goals and targets, and we talked about that because we innovate for SDG challenges. And the SDGs, as we mentioned, is a framework that it can be useful to many different directions of the project. Essentially, it can help you make the value proposition of your innovation even more concrete by identifying which key SDGs your innovation is linked, what are the main targets you're addressing. The SDGs have 169 countries. It mostly applies, to when it comes to decision making and policy making in countries, but it can help you really identify what is the key target. So choosing the most relevant SDGs to you and the goals can create a more comprehensive approach to what you're trying to do as a big scale with your innovation. So the fifth element is value proposition. And with the value proposition, you show the ways your innovation will bring benefit to different aspects. It can be quantitative, qualitative aspects. It can be quantitative efficiency, can be productivity, but also combined with qualitative experience, like overall community experience, outcome, and well-being. So the value proposition, it replies to the question of how, in which way your innovation brings value and differs from the others. The sixth is the key support resources, and this is very important. You might want to think about what are the key resources that will help you move forward, or they can help you build this step of your solution. So this can be partners, it can be equipment. Essentially, this helps you do some provisioning and source expertise, and you should be able to collectively in your group respond to 4 key questions there. So what key resources are needed for the innovation to address the challenge and succeed? On which partner you can rely on? So here you can be very ambitious and not only think about the financial aspect about financing your innovation later on, but really think about who can leverage their network to support you. And are there any existing communities you can mobilize, or is there an opportunity to build and grow your own community? 7 is the scope of the SDG innovation, and defining what is unique about your innovation with the support of the framework of the goals. You can then frame the bigger scope of it. So often they're good spillovers, good innovation in one field, but it can be positive or negative in other field. So by defining the scope of your innovation, you can measure the success in creating impact across multiple areas. And you can use, this is an exercise that you can use. Of course, it takes a little bit more time to measure and assess how this could be, but this is important for you when starting to keep in mind this sensitive issues and how you can go about innovating responsibly taking into consideration different aspects. The eighth one is key SDG success metrics. And this is really about quantitative and qualitative metrics where you define which and in what levels your innovation will positively influence the challenge you're addressing. So depending on the challenge you tackle, there can be different factors and indicators to consider. It can be indicators, it can be health and well-being, and or poverty rates or inequality reduction, life expectancy in our case, or overall number of people positively impacted. 9 is the innovation, sustainability, and scaling strategies. And when positioning and doing innovation for sustainability, we cannot have a complete project without taking into account sustainability in our innovation. And our strategy is, of course, to scale to a wider area, a larger community. And maybe this can be by standardizing a specific aspect or establishing the innovation in a certain way. So there are some guiding questions that can help you set the stage to innovation, sustainability, and scaling. How do you plan to deliver your innovation in a sustainable way? How do you plan to integrate inclusivity? How do you plan to scale your innovation by transferring impact from primary communities to secondary communities? If you plan to deliver the solution in a commercial way, you can think about analyzing the current market competition, your advantages. And also another question you can consider here is what technical or social mechanisms you need to make an impact at global scale. Is it community building? Is it by building partnerships? Is it by standardizing your tech solutions? So these are all key questions to think through. The next is build a revenue model. And this aligns with analyzing your market competition and defining your own advantages and factors for creating an effective model. That wouldn't mean directly targeting commerce and profit, because we really, here we talk about social impact, but this means more engaging in the process to find the right fit for your innovation, your unique value proposition, maybe the right investors, or the short and long-term milestones. This is also towards building a revenue model. And before concluding, another element here is the limitations and threats to SDG innovation. And Renaud, at the beginning, he talked about this challenging we should be considering, because every innovation has limitation and threats, and you want to show what you're able to do, but you also want to show what you're not able to do. And this is very important because it shows in what you can be more focused to develop your idea, with excluding unintended consequences, lack of positively measuring impact, lack of data or difficulty in gathering data, and so on. And the last one is define 3 concrete next steps, always in whichever stage of your innovation process you reach. Even after the hackathon, always define the next 3 steps and consider them as action points for your team. And this could be identifying the way you move forward with assessing your data or contacting potential partners. And remember that this canvas is a plan that can accompany you along the process of innovation and for any SDG you wish to tackle. So I welcome any questions. Also mindful of time at the same time with coordinating our training today. But if any questions, feel free to address them to me. So these are, I want to mention that This canvas is part of the learning resources, the material we have put there in the hackathon platform in the Sparkful for you. So you can see this slide here, all the elements, but also you can also find applied examples of how other teams in the past, they have integrated these elements into their solution pitch and presentation and proposition. So I want to invite you as well to integrate this aspects in your presentation, considering them or really making them the case for your arguments and for your solutions. Navid has a question.
Yes, thank you very much for this innovation Canva. My question is like, do we have to include all this, vital element in our pitching?
Not necessarily. Nofia will explain later, giving practical information about what you can include in your presentation, but we strongly encourage you to do so, because we're talking about SDG challenges here, and this is not mandatory, but the canvas is for you to use and utilize. It applies to the business model canvas, but it integrates all key aspects we need to consider when talking about an SDG challenge. So you're strongly encouraged to use that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Great. Unless there is a question, another question from the room as well, I would suggest that we go ahead and present you the second of, it's not a tool, it's not a methodology, it's more around giving you important insights around how you can communicate effectively and well your idea when pitching. And this is important, and you can practice during your cross pitch sessions, but very important for our final pitch in 2 days' time. So in previous hackathons, we had invited very well renowned public speaker experts, and we have created a pocket lecture for you, where our expert, he talks about pitch learning and the effective communication of your idea and how you can go about doing it. So it's a 15 minutes pocket lecture and very inspiring. So keep your attention here. We're gonna play the video now. It starts a little bit later, the sound. This is still the introduction. It's not. Maybe you should share the sound. It's fine. Gonna be just sharing the computer sound, and we will play it right away.
Your idea. Now, I know we only have a short time. We could go on for 2 days on this, but think of this as a step along a much longer journey, this journey that we are all on, myself included, to become better speakers, to become better presenters, to become better capable of sharing an idea. Over the last couple of years, I've read a lot of surveys by companies like Microsoft, LinkedIn, Forbes, companies like that. And these surveys were designed, they were sent to the heads of companies and organizations, and they were asked essentially one question. When it comes to looking for people who could be future leaders of your organization or company, what are the skills you are looking for? Consistently at the top is the ability to communicate well, the ability to share an idea in a way that is impactful, that is memorable, that moves people to action. Lee Iacocca is a name you may have heard of. He was the former CEO of Chrysler. He said, you can have brilliant ideas, but if you can't get them across, your ideas won't get you anywhere. And I have no doubt each of you has brilliant ideas. And what I want to try and do is give you some tips and some techniques for how you can get those ideas across. Now, a lot of people tell me when I work with them, they say, yeah, but I'm not a very good public speaker. Never been good at pitching. And I always tell them what the American poet Ralph Waldo Emerson said. He said, all the great speakers were bad speakers at first. And I certainly include myself in that category. Public speaking is a skill. It's a skill like any other. You know, if you want to be a good writer, you have to write. If you want to be a good football player, you have to play football. If you want to be a good speaker, you have to speak. So when we think about pitches, I want to ask a question, and you can just type your answers in the chat. What is the purpose of a pitch? When you pitch an idea, if I gave you 10 minutes or 5 minutes to pitch your big idea to me, what is the purpose? What do you want to achieve in those 5-10 minutes? To express yourself, idea sharing, yes. I pitch to you to buy my idea and implement with me, market my solution. These are all good. These are all good. And I do agree. Although when you pitch, if you only have 5 minutes, you have to ask yourself as well, is it realistic? Is it reasonable that people are going to buy into my idea after just 5 minutes? I do a lot of work with an organization here in Switzerland called InnoSwiss. And it's working with young startups, helping them pitch their idea to venture capitalists. And I always ask them, you know, what's your objective? And so often I hear 100,000 francs, 500,000 francs, 250,000 francs. And I always ask them, I say, what do you think the chances are that I'm going to give you 500,000 francs after 5 minutes? And that always throws them off. They say, oh, not very much. I said, no, the chances are zero. There's a 0% chance I'm going to give you 500,000 francs after 5 minutes. Unless you're on a television show like Shark Tank, I'm not giving you the money. So then what is a more realistic thing? What is a first step? And we saw some of it in here. Get attention, get people interested in it. For me, there are 3 objectives for your pitch. Number 1, you want to stimulate interest. You want people to say, hey, this is a neat idea. I'd like to know more. Number 2, you want to start building trust. Because if you're asking me for money or equipment or some kind of commitment on my part, I want to be able to trust that you know what you're doing, that you've thought this through, and that you're going to act responsibly in our relationship going forward. So stimulate interest, build trust. And then the third one is to start a conversation. To start a conversation. Ideally, the best pitches are the ones where you get to the end of your pitch and the people start asking questions and it becomes a conversation. Then you know you're on the right track. The other thing to keep in mind when pitching an idea is ask yourself, is there a simple first step that I can get my audience to take? Something really small, something even symbolic. And it could be as easy as downloading a PDF from your website. I've worked with clients where at the end of their slide presentation, we put a QR code up on the screen. And now smartphones, you just hold your camera up and it links you to the site. This first step is hugely important psychologically. When you think about your ultimate objective, ask yourself, is there some small first step that we can get people to take? Because it's not a guarantee but the chances are there's a much better chance that people are going to go further with you if they've taken that first step. Now, Thomas showed you the SDG innovation chart, and I'm really glad he did, because box number 5, I believe, is something that is hugely important when it comes to pitching, and that is your value proposition. And if you were with a company and you're pitching, a product, the value proposition is, first of all, what is it? And why will people buy it? Now, in your case, it's pretty much the same thing. The issue, what is the issue, or what is the problem you're trying to solve? And why is it important that we solve it? The thing is, whenever you are pitching something, you need to remember that you all suffer from something that is known as the curse of knowledge. And the fact of the matter is, everyone suffers from it. I suffer from it. We all do. What is the curse of knowledge? The curse of knowledge is when you know something so well that you forget what it's like when you knew nothing at all about it. And when you're pitching something that I can tell you're very passionate about this, and you want to help these people, you want to do so well, that the ideas are just flowing. But I'm hearing them for the first time, and I need to be able to understand in my mind, how does each piece fit in? And so the lesson here is, if there is a simple way you can distill your message into something really simple. And then, of course, when you talk about the different components of what you want to do, then you can get into curriculum or separate spaces or support for parents. Absolutely. But the message, as I understand it, would be, you want to make, you want to give handicapped children the same rights to an education as anyone. Basically, that's what it's coming down to, isn't it? And so you start there. You start more simply. If you prepare slides, there will be a tendency to make things fit to use acronyms. And acronyms are a great indicator of the curse of knowledge. It's obvious to you, but it's not to us. So you can use acronyms. Of course, you need to define them first. So you can say the second issue that, okay, so we talk, what is the problem? The other thing is, then you have to ask yourself, why do we have to do something about it? And in this regard, you want to think about the relevance for your audience. Now, because here's a hard truth when it comes to public speaking in general. I don't know you, so I don't know a whole lot about you, but I can guess a few things about you. You're motivated, you're hardworking, you wouldn't be in this program if you weren't. The thing is, when you are pitching your idea, it's not about you. It's not about your idea or your organization. It's not even about the people you're trying to help. And that sounds harsh, but it's the truth. I've had the real privilege of being able to speak in 25 countries around the world. And last year I was working in Dakar, Senegal, with 35 officials from the UN doing amazing work in very difficult situations throughout Africa. And I told them, it's not even about the people you're trying to help. And some would look at me understandably and they say, how can you say it's not about those people? It's not. Every speech, every pitch is about the audience. First, last, always. Now, does that mean I don't want to help those people? I don't want to do a good job, get investment for my idea, get a new client, get recognition? Of course not. I want all those things as much as anybody else. But here's the promise I make to you today. When you go in to a pitch or a speech or a presentation and you ask yourself, how can I make this time valuable for the audience? This time that they will never, ever get back. If somebody gives you half an hour to pitch, they're never going to get that half hour back again. And you have, as a speaker, have the obligation to make it worth their while. You go in with that attitude, all these other things that you would like for yourself, your idea, your organization, the people you're trying to help, they just start coming. Trust me, I've lived this. I've experienced this. These things just start coming on their own. So as you're pitching your idea, you know, to a potential investor or to some support, whether it's government support or whatever, think for yourself, why should the audience care? Why should this audience care about my idea? So keep that in mind. As you're thinking about your idea, you got to be very specific and clear. What is the problem? Make it really simple to understand. And then why should we solve it? I also want to spend a few moments talking about Aristotle. Aristotle, a Greek philosopher who 2,300 years ago wrote a book that is still considered to be the Bible of persuasion. The book was called Rhetoric. And in this book, Aristotle said that in order to persuade, a good persuasive speech must be built on 3 pillars, just the way the Parthenon in Athens is built on pillars. Right, Aphrodite? These 3 pillars, Aristotle called logos, ethos, and pathos. Logos, ethos, pathos. What do these things mean? Logos. Logos is the logic of the presentation. Actually, logos comes from the old Greek word that means word. So today, anything that ends in ology, biology, sociology, things like that, all relate to logos. Logos is very left brain stuff. It's facts, it's data, it's research, it's statistics. Is your presentation well structured? Is it well organized? I'm a lawyer. I practiced law for many years in Toronto. I'm very logos oriented. Lawyers have to be. So you're going to need these left brain things, these logical things to support your case. Ethos relates to persuasion by virtue of who you are as a person. Ethos is all about your credibility. It's about your experience, your level of authority, how trustworthy the audience sees you, how you present yourself on stage, and that could be a whole other course about how you speak voice and body language. But ethos is persuasion by virtue of who you are as a person. And then the third element is pathos. And pathos comes from the Greek word for suffering. And today we get words like sympathy, empathy, pathology, all relate to pathos. Pathos is the emotion inherent, persuasion by emotion. It's things like humor, if appropriate, or metaphor, or surprise, or the most powerful of all, storytelling. And I encourage you, as you're thinking about your pitches, to think about a story that could fit into your presentation. And too many times, people leave out the pathos. There's plenty of logos and they have the ethos, but they think, oh, emotion, I'm not an actor. And it's not about being an actor. It's about finding a little bit of emotion in the right amount, not too much, but not too little either, that can really connect with an audience. Because when you're pitching an idea, you're trying to sell an idea to somebody. There are 2 kinds of sells. There's the logical sell, and then there's the emotional sell. And when you're in front of the people, that's your best chance to really touch them. So, for example, again, coming back to Kenwa's example, because that's what we were talking about. You could pitch about the statistics of the number of children in Nigeria who don't have access to school, and the effects, and you can give all these details. But I think what would be really effective would be to start, for example, with a story of one little boy or one little girl, and you have their name, maybe even an image, and you talk about their struggle. And then you move from story to statistic. You extrapolate. You start with the personal, and then you move to the whole. Was it Mother Teresa? She said something like, if I think of the masses who need help, I will never act. But if I think of one person, I will. And that's the thing. You want to get people emotionally invested and excited in your idea. So logos, ethos, pathos, just bear in mind, you want to have the right balance of personal credibility, which you always want to be as high as possible, and then logic, and then emotion. These are 3 things that need to be in your speech, in your pitch. My last point that I wanted to cover in the time we have, a few words about pitching as a team. when you pitch as a team, there should be one person who is the leader of the pitch. If, you know, it doesn't necessarily need to be the most senior person in the company or organization, but for the purposes of this pitch, there should be one clear leader who introduces and preferably concludes as well. You want to practice together, because this is where it becomes, there's this extra layer of complexity. You want to make sure everybody knows what everybody else is doing, and you want to work on the transitions, passing from one to the next. I have seen so many team pitches where this first person speaks and they get to the end and it's just, and they don't say anything, they just kind of signal, and it's awkward. It doesn't take a lot, but it could take one sentence. Like, you know, if I were presenting with Aphrodite, I might say, you know, I've told you about the problem. Here to talk about our solution is Aphrodite. Just something very simple like that. Then I hand her the remote, and then I sit down. And when you sit down after you hand off, you give your teammate 100% of your attention. You don't go on your phone. You focus on them the way you hope everybody else is. It's a small thing, but it makes a huge impact, because audiences don't want to see 3 individuals. They want to see one team.
Wonderful. Are you all here with us?
Yeah, we are.
Excellent. I hope you found John Zimmer's teach on peach learning inspiring. I personally every time do, and I hope you can use this this insights for your own peach. We have in the library of resources you have in your hackathon platform, you have extensive material on peach learning from John Zimmer and the Association Manner of Speaking. So you will find there the pocket lecture if you want to rewatch it again, but also documents around presentation, public speaking, and pitch learning. So we advise you to go and there and read them through and use them together with your team. See here in our chat, we there was this question, and I think John, he talked at the end about pitching, of course, in team, and you mentioned Supasin about how you can pitch in a team where members are online but also in person. I think from logistical point of view, this wouldn't be a problem at all, but make sure that everybody participates, everybody they're engaged through the process, and they each other's work, as John mentioned, and I think it should be just fine if you coordinate well from the beginning. And with that, we're reaching but not yet the end of our training session today. Before we give you some practical information around the hackathon still, we want to do a group icebreaker with you. And we want to also bring together the online and in-person participants. And I have here with me Francie Kurtz. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you there. Actually, just wanted to remind one of our speakers, Professor Matthew Daly. He's actually already online. So maybe we could take his session and then possibly take the icebreaker after that, if that's okay with all. Yeah.
For sure, for sure. Thank you, Gopi, for that. And a pleasure to have a Professor Matthew Daly with us here today. To complete our introduction part of the topic. And this time we're going to talk about digital technologies for persons with disabilities. A pleasure to meet you, Professor Daly, and over to you.
Yeah, thanks very much for the introduction. And yeah, I'm very glad to be here with everybody this evening. So as I understand, I'm to give just a very short presentation of 10 minutes. So I'll go ahead and do that. And I believe I'll be seeing everybody who's at the who's on site tomorrow at AIT, right? So anyway, yeah. So let me share my screen. Okay, you can see my presentation, I think. Okay, so I was asked to talk a little bit about digital technologies for people with disabilities, and so I'm going to give you kind of a case study that we are working on right now at AIT. We call it this elder care system. This is an IoT system, especially to assist caregivers and healthcare professionals with elderly people at home. So especially those that may be facing some problems with mobility. Okay. So yeah. So my name is Matthew Daly. I'm a professor at AIT in the ICT department, and I'm also the CTO of AIT's AI Center. That's where I'm coming from. And the work that I'm talking about tonight was funded by the National Broadcasting and Telecommunications Commission of Thailand. And this is a partnership with Mahidol University's Faculty of Physical Therapy. Okay, so I'll just first of all introduce the team that's working on this. So this is me with my colleague Dr. Mongkon. We have a bunch of great engineers and master's students working with us on this project. So the goal of this particular initiative or project is to develop an IoT monitoring device for elderly people that's at the near commercial level. And then, of course, in future phases, we intend to fully commercialize this product. So the basic idea is that both caregivers of elderly people at home and healthcare professionals, such as your physical therapist or your parents' physical therapist, will be interested in knowing what an elderly person is doing during the day. And are there any changes in their behavior, the changes in their activity level, changes in their mobility, right? And to kind of profile those data at a numeric level or a statistical level over time, so we can actually track changes very precisely. That's the basic goal of this system. So this is the system that we built. So first of all, there's the IoT devices, or sometimes we call them edge devices when you talk about mixed cloud and edge computing, right? So these are edge devices that are installed in the home, in the elderly person's home. So we have some switches and routers and so on, and usually since we're using video, right, we need to generally we use a NVR just to record video, right? It's not a critical element of the system, but mostly for experimental recording of data. And so then we have an IoT device that does most of the heavy lifting, the computational work. So those edge devices talk over the internet to our cloud services, right, which then we're given access to healthcare providers, and also we talk to the caretakers of our elderly people, the family members, through Line. So if you're familiar with this messaging system, okay. So here's some detailed system architecture of the system. So running on the edge device, we have a bunch of sort of AI type technologies, okay? So we detect people, we track people over time, we extract skeletons of their body, right? So we know the position and orientation of each part of their body at each point in time. And then we have a data uploader that transfers data over the internet to our cloud services, okay? So on the cloud side, we have a bunch of workers or basically computational processes that receive the data and perform additional AI processing and store necessary information to a database that can then be accessed through a web application. Okay, so let's look at some of the data necessary to build a system like this. So the key is getting enough data so that you can build the models that you can use to make predictions and also recognize activities and things like that. So this is a data set we acquired at Mahidol University with motion capture. And so we had a bunch of elderly people and healthy individuals perform various actions and record video and their body posture over time. Okay. We built a fall data set where we had where we paid individuals to simulate falling down. Right. This is one of the things that we worry about with elderly people at home, is that we'd like to we would hopefully like to prevent a situation where they have a nasty fall. But then also, if it does happen, if the worst does happen, then we want to be able to detect it and raise an alert as quickly as possible. So we created a data set full of these. There's another, this is a public data set in which individuals are performing certain standardized actions, okay? And then in our own lab at the AI Center at AIT, we collected a bunch more data on different activities by individuals, right? That include daily activities as well as unstable motion, lack of mobility, and other actions, okay? So then we move to the real world, right, where we collect data at individuals' homes, right? So these are just regular households in Thailand where there are elderly people present, and so we install the system to record data over time for building up of the system. Okay, so that's the data that we collected. So these are different the different aspects of the system that we had to build. Okay, the IoT device itself, it does the edge processing, the web services that receive data streams from the IoT devices, and then a web application to allow users to make use of the system. Okay, so there are many software features. I don't have time to get into all of them, right? But we'll just see some examples of the web application where we can see live views of the cameras. We can see events that are detected. We can register the family members that we would like to monitor. We can configure those family members, and then we get information about the activities of the family members over time. So this is just showing some of the events that have been captured by the system. We keep track of how much of the day the target people that we're interested in monitoring are active, right? So in case the idea would be that in case we see a long period of inactivity, then that might be cause for concern, right? And then the person who's responsible for that individual could then check if anything's wrong, help out, and so on. Okay. This is just an example of line notifications to family members in cases that an untoward event has been detected. Okay. Yeah, and just some samples of the actual deployment of the system in 2 homes here in Thailand. Okay. So you can see, so we try as much as possible to use the real world scenario where we have normal people's houses that are cluttered, right? So we have to deal with all these aspects of video that it's not always clear. Sometimes the people are occluded by objects in the environment and things like that. Okay. So these are some examples of activities that are being classified, right? So different activities that people might be performing. Examples of falling or unstable motion, things like that. Okay. That the system is capable of tracking. Okay. Here's an example of this classification from the lab, right? So here we have a protocol where the individual participants perform a certain sequence of actions, right? And we gather data from all perspectives, right? So that we can build the models that can be used to make predictions in these cases. It might be a little hard to see, but it's basically showing the position of our participant's body, right? And what he is doing, right? Making a phone call, waving, pointing, clapping, walking, standing, etc. So all of these individual events over time are recorded and then can be used for understanding the behavior of the person, both for the healthcare provider at home, for the care provider at home, and healthcare professional who might be interested in the trends for these kinds of activities over time. Okay, I'll skip forward. Here's an example of the system detecting individuals falling. Okay, so it correctly denotes the falls. Okay. All right. Here's an example of unstable movement, right? Where we see that the person, this is a simulation, of course, but where the system can detect that there's some unstable motion that might indicate a problem or a future risk. Okay. All right. So anyway, so the one of the things that we have to work on is to make this system as accurate as possible. So currently, over these different activities, you can see that the current accuracy in our test data in the this is in the cluttered environment of the natural home is over 90%, right? So that's pretty good, but something that we still may have to improve. Okay. Yeah, this is the classification accuracy for unstable motion, right? So we have very high accuracy on this on these activities. Okay. So some of the problems that we face in a problem like this is trying to get the deep learning model to generalize, let's say, from a laboratory environment to a real world environment. So that's one of the big challenges that we face. So it requires gathering a lot of data and a lot of manual annotation of data to actually acquire enough data to build accurate models, right, that can generalize well. Yeah, so also actually being able to manually annotate data for building of models. This is quite a challenge. Yeah, and also it's very difficult to visit people's homes right now during the COVID pandemic, right? So we hope that this will get easier as the pandemic loosens its grip on our world. Okay. Okay. So anyway, so this is still a work in progress. We have funding for the second round of development, a second phase of the project from the MBTC in Thailand. So we're currently working on going to the next level commercial prototype for the system to be something that actually looks like a consumer device that you could install in your home. Yeah, so accuracy is fairly good for our tests, but we need to broaden our tests, right? So that'll be another thing. And now we're also working on individuals in wheelchairs, right? So that we can be just as accurate in understanding the activities and mobility of people in wheelchairs as we are people that are just elderly and maybe have a history of falling or other lack of mobility. So also we're currently deploying the system in a larger number of test patients' homes and working with physical therapy doctors. Okay, so that's I think I'll skip the rest and say thank you. Yeah, if we have time for questions, I'm happy to take a few. Otherwise, I suppose I will meet many of you tomorrow.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Professor Daly. Very glad to discover about this model and to see also that young graduates and people involved in developing and taking the solutions further and for improving it. Great work. Thank you so much. We have, I don't see any questions or hands raised from our online participants. Anything from the AAT premises? Anything from the room?
Do we have a question? Any question? Not for the moment, Aphrodite. Thank you,
No problem, but you will. Great, and you will be seeing Professor Daly during the hackathon, so you can address the any questions you like. Thank you so much, Professor Daly, for being with us in this first day.
Yep, thank you. It's been my pleasure. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I think for the participants, if you like the idea, communicate with Matt, you or communicate with us.
Yes. Thank you for this invitation announcement, Nofia, also for everybody online and in person. Great.
Thank you very much.
So with that, we come to our final activity for today, and it's a more interactive part. So this is our icebreaker. I hear myself in the AAT room, but not a problem. And I'm not alone here. Of course, I'm surrounded by colleagues from the University of Geneva and Open Geneva. And I have Francie, who is with us, a brilliant student and also part of the team of Open Geneva Impact Hackathons, to introduce and moderate this icebreaker. So Francie, over to you.
Thank you, Aphrodite, and hello, welcome everybody. I hope the technical setup works now. Let me know from the room if I should make a pause for a second. So we prepared a quick game on Mentimeter. Maybe you know the platform, and we prepared 2 questions for you that I'd like you to answer. Therefore, you go on menti.com and enter the code you can see here. You can also just scan the QR code and then the questionnaire should appear. And then I would like to encourage the people in the room to engage maybe with your teams already or just with the people sitting around you to discuss the 2 questions. And then I think in a bit we can have the results and a quick discussion. Could I have next slide, please? Yeah, so the 2 questions we would like you to think about is, first of all, which SDGs are you most interested in? And then maybe you can discuss with your teams why or why not. And then second, what are your motivations to participate in this hackathon or in this specific challenge? So now feel free to scan the QR code and discuss in the room. And I will quickly share my screen so we can have a look at the results. Here we can see the first results coming in. There is a lot of interest in quality education for now, which makes sense. We're in a university setting. If you're not on Menti yet, you can, like on top you see, go to menti.com and then you can enter the code and still participate in the question.
So health and well-being. I will move it. Health and well-being. Yes, it makes sense. It's relevant to our challenges.
Yeah, and then now I'd like to invite maybe 1 or 2 people in the room or also online to maybe share with us why you're particularly interested in the SDG that you selected.
Yes, I see Navid want to take the floor.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. I picked actually SDG 3, good health and well-being, because it incorporates a few more SDGs together. Firstly, SDG 9, industry innovation and infrastructure, and SDG 17, partnership for the goals. So if we focus on the SDG 3, then we can remain fit, we can remain healthy, as well as we can work for SDG 9, SDG 8 as well, because it also incorporates, decent to work and economic growth. At the same time, we can go for SDG 17 as well. So it incorporates multiple SDGs together, and it has very good opportunities for technology innovation as well. This is why I always try to engage myself in work which relates to SDG 3.
Thank you very much. And thank you also for pointing out, of course, they're all interlinked, especially goal number 3, and it will also be, I think, in the focus of this hackathon.
Yes, as people already start, I'm sorry, I can hear my voice, so that's why I'm pausing, but thank you. Yeah, I see that already a very interesting point. I see already people start grasping a little bit of the different elements, and this is exactly what you mentioned. It has to do with the SDG scope, and you already, you identify what is the priority there, and I believe for most of the SDGs, SDG 3 has overall positive impact over the other areas. So this is exactly about the scope, and thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Aphrodite. And then I think we can have a look at the results of the second question.
But I can see Rajesh Surang wanted to take the floor too. Sorry for that.
Okay, yeah, sure. Sorry.
Hi, I would like to share about my thoughts about SDG that I'm interested in. I choose SDG 4, which is the quality education. I believe that quality education is really important for the next generation, and this is a global agenda. What we need is that we need a corporate in every single age of people. So I think that SDG 4 could be one of the most important thing that we could educate people and be aware of SDG goals, so we can cooperate together, and collaborate together to be able to achieve the global agenda in 2030. This means that I feel like SDG 4 could be one main part that we could go together to make people more rise awareness and then become more educated about SDG. So I believe that it's important to make projects and develop on SDG 4.
Thank you very much. I think there's lots of people sharing your opinion, considering that most of the people are most interested in SDG 4, and I think it also bears the potential for great ideas for this hackathon. Is there anybody else who wants to share? I guess that's no. I cannot see the people in the room, so I hope that's fine. Interrupt me if not. Oh, sorry. Otherwise, we'll go to the next slide. My laptop's a bit slow, so that might take a bit. One minute, I guess. Then I'll have it ready.
Yes.
But maybe in the meantime, the first person already wants to share why he or she is interested in participating in this hackathon.
Francie, we have a response from the room here.
Oh, okay, great. Then let's keep going with that.
Hello, check. Yeah, so the SDG that I selected was good healthcare and well-being. So one of the reasons I selected it, like personally, I think even in my country that healthcare has become really expensive, and just simple healthcare and just checkups are getting really expensive. So like if we could find a way to improve that and like get better healthcare for like a reasonable pricings and stuff like that, then maybe I think it would be something worth working for. So yeah, that's what I thought.
Thank you a lot. Yeah, that's interesting and sadly very true that in a lot of countries it is still very expensive. Anybody else?
Yes, I want to go for clean water and sanitation. You know, one aspect that we ignore so much is the environment. And if more attention is given, there's more innovative ideas in the environment where we'll take care of the environment through sustainable environment and clean water, making water available. So for me, the SDGs I go more for is the clean water and sanitation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very interesting as well.
Okay. Maybe we can invite people with regards to the motivations, right? It was the next question. In case our word cloud, it doesn't work at the moment.
So does anybody would like to share why he or she decided to participate in this hackathon, or maybe even in the specific challenge they choose?
And maybe how many of you have you already formed a team? Maybe I realize participants, they can raise their hands.
Otherwise, I think, oh, okay, I see. There's a video being played now.
Hi, everybody. So for this SDG hackathon, so the teams are Team Hua's team with Tananan and Shachada. Oh. So for the second team, we have the Caring 365 team headed by Mr. Durjoy, plus 4 members. Yeah. And up next, we have the Rosie and Navy team headed by Raja Surang from the Kachon Kiet International School with members. Right. So for the next team, we have team Banana Dudes team from many universities here, from Chula, from Thammasat, and from the KMT. Yes. For they actually have quite a lot of introductions. So some intro for the group. They said that they're a group of Thai students from various universities who gathered in hope to provide some solution to assist the vulnerable groups, the elderly and the handicapped. So of course they believe that their ideas will be innovative and sophisticated, but I guess we will see. Right. So big hand for this group. So for the next team, we have the Goldshire team. So they're a group of friends who would like to build some prototypes for applications. So big hand for this group. For the next team, we have the Hacked team. Quite a lot of members in this team. I'll be looking at you guys. Big hand for this group, please. Thank you. So, okay, some intro for this team. They say that they're looking for some technological advancements and innovations that can be developed like every day in hopes that they'll be able to navigate through the various digital complexities in the societies today, reaping the benefits and finding the opportunities. So, thank you. For the next team, we have the team Trailblazers from the University of Science and Technology of Southern Philippines. And for the next team, we'll have some of the set teams for the participants who have not formed teams yet. But so we've set these teams up, with the first team being the Team A for the SDG hackathon, with quite a mix of the different members. So I hope you've seen your announcements for these teams, or if not, please do contact us back. Thank you. So for the next team, Team B, we have also a mix of students from AIT, of course, and from Thammasat, University of the People, and also the Palawan State University. For Team C, we have a mix of students from AIT, Bangkok University, the National University of Pakistan, and thank you. For the next team, Team D, we have a mix of students from AIT, Institute of Research into Wildlife and Forestry, and the Toll Ampil High School. For the next team, wow, fancy team, this one, Team E, we have members from the Independent University of Bangladesh, from AIT, and the Bangladesh University of Professionals. For the next team, we have Team F with a mix of students from the Tribhuvan University, Gadwal University, State College of Agricultural and Technology, AIT, and again, Toll Ampil High School. For the next team, we have the Team G, which consists of the students from AIT, from the Harbin Institute of Technology, from the NUST Islamabad, and also from AKUH. Thank you. And that is it, everybody. So I hope you find your teams. And if not, of course, if you have any questions or anything, please do raise hand or contact us back. Thank you very much.
Yeah, for team who, we assign the name, so your name can be changed. I will explain how to change the name. So for those who already decided, you can keep your name or you can change after you listen to my talks a few minutes from now. So what is important of your team, it should be, the team name usually should be your product name, should be your solution name. So if you want to go start up with that team, so that team become a company name. So choosing a team is very important. And I can give some idea how to choose a team name. But for now, you can try to think with them yourself. And after I give a talks about how to select the team names, how to name your team, then you can think about it. So it's a kind of your products. If this is your lifetime products, it's going to be very big one. So think about the team name carefully. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. It's exciting to see so many teams form from our side too. And we note all the motivations, and I hope you will be able to develop your solutions, stay within your groups, and work together. So reaching the end of our session, I would like now to invite Chaiwat to give us a few information about the logistics at the AIT campus. Unless Nofia, you would like to still say a few words about the mentors and the AIT team first. But I know that you mentioned.
So Chaiwat, you want to say something, right? The logistics on campus. So we were expecting more people staying on campus, but I think we don't see much people on campus. So this issue not really a big issue. Yes, I can say for those staying on campus, we have bathroom here, you know that. And yeah, you stay in the dorm, you know that. And this center will open. And you see that room, you can use it. Usually the team use it for your own. When you do hacking, you can use any of that room. And then just feel free to use it, okay? So this building will be open for 24 hours. So you just keep using it. And yeah, feel free to use it. And that's it, right?
Yes.
And yeah, we still have a lot of food left. Try to eat one more round and then finish the food.
Yeah, we have a lot of food now. Yeah, miss you all.
Great. Thank you so much. Yes, Nofia.
Yeah, if not, I can explain the rule a little bit so that we can. What do you think? Yeah, and then or we start with mentor introduction. Yeah, I think, yeah.
Just to briefly tell the participants of the mentors they would be having during the hack. The first mentor and the speaker whom you heard today, Professor Matthew Daly from the Asian Institute of Technology. The next mentor we have is Dr. Mushtaq Memon from the UN Environment Program. You will be hearing his talk tomorrow, so many participants would be hearing his session tomorrow as well. The next mentor we have is Ms. Puncheya Raksakul from the Kitty Forward Company. She will also be presenting a talk tomorrow, and many of you will be hearing her. The other mentor is Professor Anil Kumar Anal from the Asian Institute of Technology. Again, his session is scheduled for tomorrow. The next mentor we have is Mr. Tad Hatchilalha, the speaker of today from the Join and Coin Company. We had an interesting session from him today. And finally, last but not the least, Mr. Ekamol Pathianan, who is the president of the Thailand Association of the Blind. So these are the mentors that we have for the Open Hack. But that said, we will obviously be there having Professor Nofia and our team here to support the participants with any issues or questions you have. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. We have 14 teams for this event, and then we have only 6 mentors. So that's why if you want to have any question, contact the mentor directly or contact us. So we will organize. We can set up a breakout room for you to talk with the mentors, and we also have Slack, and we also have Sparkboard. And then you can communicate as well. So all the material we presented today, you will see on the Sparkboard. I think there is a section where you can find all the resources you've seen today. And feel free to ask us. The more you ask, the more you get familiar with what you are trying to do. So then the more you overcome all this nervousness, then your real idea come in. See, if you cannot overcome that, your idea will just stay there somewhere. So yeah, asking is the start of receiving. So just try to ask something. And yeah, I think that's it. Then I can explain a little bit about the rules.
Yes, and in the meantime, Nofia, we invite also those who haven't registered yet, maybe on the Sparkboard to do so, where you find all the information about the hackathon there. So also for our online participants, we have put this in the chat.
Yes, I remember. Now I remember, okay? So everyone needs to be on the Sparkboard for many reasons. One of the reasons is about these materials. Other reason is that we will generate your certificate also based on what you registered on the Sparkboard. So make sure that your name is correct there, okay? So try to be there, and all resources are there. Okay. So next one, I will explain the rule a little bit so that it gives you some idea when you start doing hacking from today. Somebody wants to say? No? Okay. Okay, so this is a very simple rules that I think everyone should keep in mind. So we want your team, so this already, I think you're clear already, the team need to have at least 5 members. So I think that you are clear for that. And each team is required to use available technologies. We prefer, if possible, we prefer to have open source technology so everyone can use it. Okay, so keep that in mind. If you have a choice between open source and not, then try, if you have a choice, then try to go for open source. And then so that we can have the data, freely available. So we want to have a solution that anyone can use it and can replicate it. And then when they start hacking, I heard some students feeling so uncomfortable about the coding. I mean, if you do a search, yes, they will explain something about the code. But here we not required, but if you can do it, that's really very good. So that's what we want. At the end of the day, let's say if you look at data intensive solutions, you might need to have skill in coding. If we know data now become freely available here and there. So if you have good idea, good question, also good idea, good about a strong passion, and you have coding skill, then it helps. But for this hacking event, we don't need it's not required, but it preferred to. And we need to have your pitch deck. Pitch deck is your product should have at least related to 3 SDG goals. So you try to get it into goals. So if you can go more a little bit specific rather than just say goal 2, goal 3, if you can even go down to the target, let's say target 2.1 of this one, that even more better. So, but yeah, I leave that to you. And for pitching, okay, sorry. Yeah, so for pitching, you have 5 minutes. So 5 minutes, you can see the clock. I think we put the clock here. And then the jury and you have, you can see, everyone can see, after 5 minutes. I think maybe, maybe 2 minutes, you got one pin, one alert. So 2 minutes left, you get one alert. 1 minute left, one alert. And then 5, no more. So yeah, we just shut it off, okay? You can talk, but we turn off the mic, so yeah, nobody can hear you. But usually we shut it off, okay? And the same thing for the jury. So, you have Q&A, you have 5 minutes. If you got a question, if you want to get more ideas, you should try to answer specifically. But if you just want to buy time, you can just keep answering. It either way. But I think if for this hacking event, it's better to get more ideas. So it just, if you answer, you can just go to specific answer. Don't try to go here and there around. That is not really good way of answering the question. If they ask for A or B, say A or B. Don't go C or here and there. Okay, that is not good for answering the question. And so if you have all the information like documentation of your product, process, the system structures, we encourage you to use your GitHub so here, I think you just search for it. There is a way how to do it. If you don't sign up yet, you can sign up. Okay, so that's what we want you to do. And for the pitch deck, so this is the 3rd day of your of the hacking event. This is what we expect you to have a pitch deck. Pitch deck is, again, how you translate your idea. You spend 2 days, let's say today, and tomorrow, 2 days. Now you bring that idea into one set of document that you can convince to the investor or whoever you want to convince to in 5 minutes. So what it should contain in that? So first, the product name. This is the title like I put here. So which means this should be your team name. You know, if you have a big company like Google, they have Alpha company, but they have one product is Google here and there. But you are starting from small. It would be good if to have your product name and your team name is the same, so that's more easier for us to recognize here also. So think about that. You know, you might not get the name that is short, but if you think like this is what I did with my startup. You think about maybe half local name, half English name. If you combine that, make into a good meaning of it. And then because your product name, it becomes your domain name. So if you open a company, you also need to have a domain name. You don't want to have a big company, but your domain is owned by somebody else. Then you would need to buy domain from there. Usually only $10. If somebody knows that your company is big and you don't have a domain, and you go buy from them, maybe they charge you $1 million. So that is something you think about carefully about your product name. And a problem to be addressed. So this is something that's why the SDG canvas explained earlier help you a lot. When you start doing from now, for example, I think your team would have different idea here and there. But if you refer to the canvas explained earlier, then it could frame you into one table together. Okay, that's why this canvas explained earlier, very important for you to direct your team into one corner together. Now I think you have here and there and there. And now look at the canvas and then say, okay, now let's stay with it. Let's stay with it. Let's say if you have 10 steps of canvas, for example, you have 2 hours. Think about it. So I would spend 30 minutes for this, 30 minutes for this, for that, and then start working on that. Otherwise, time is running. I can tell you time is running quickly if you don't have that. So the Canvas is very helpful for you to, to put the team into one place together. And then when that, you can identify the problems. Here again, it's up to your team. So you try to find a problem that you want to solve within the chosen challenge. So that's, I don't know how program would be, but we are excited to get your products coming. And then solution, when you identify the problem, it's always good to say what is the solution that you want to bring in. It could be, a website, it could be an app platform, it could be just a community where people can meet together. But explain them, and then when you explain them, say the benefit of that product. You don't just say a web platform. Let's say if somebody use my platform, they can find healthy food easily, cheaper, better, something that you can think about, something that is better than what is existing in the market. I say think about that. So and don't go for long. Maybe try to choose 3 benefits that the user can benefit. For example, if the elderly use my app, what can they do? And then try to link the last benefit should be how that benefit would contribute to SDG, would achieve SDG here and there. So try to think that way. And the market side, if you identify the niche market, the problem, it's easy to search for the market side. If you don't understand your problem, it's not easy to go for the market side. You cannot find it. You don't come up and say here, my technology can do everything. Which means if you say you can do everything, it means you cannot do anything. So at the same meaning. So try to go for the very specific problem you want to solve, and from there you can find the market. So just search for it. Let's say healthy food for elders, market size. Then you will come up with million, billion, and try to come up with the percentage of growth. You don't want to go for a market that grows slow, right? Because you are a startup, you want to go for a market that grow fast enough so that you can bring in the investors. They want to see that. Maybe look for they usually report it, what is the percentage of increment every year. So look for that. And if you find a niche market, I think you will see grow 20%, 50%, even higher. So try to look for that. And then business model is a little bit tricky. So now you have the product, you understand the market size, you know the benefit. So how do you make money? Okay, so this is something that's important. When you don't just say, I have very wonderful products, then people ask, how do you make money? So if you are the founder of the product, you should be able to explain that clearly. If not, then the investor usually they don't have much time. They only have 5 minutes with you. If somebody say, how now I know and understand your products, can you tell me how you can survive, where you make the money? But they don't say how you make the money. They ask you, what is your business model? So that's how you make the money. It could be membership side, it could be product selling, it could be affiliate, anything that you need to explain how you make money. And then when you identify that, so who are your user? Again, this is very important when you start up. You need to understand what market you are going to target. Otherwise, you would spend money for nothing. You would spend money, if you do, say, like search marketing, for example. This is for those who understand the market. Maybe you can easily capture what I'm saying quickly. You don't want to advertise your healthy food for elderly to sportsmen, right? They would click on it, but they will not buy it, which means you spend money for nothing. But if you identify the market clearly, let's say, elderly at the age from 65, female. Then you only target female with the age of 65, which means the more your ad seen by them, the more likely they buy it. Because you are target the right people. You are not target, to the high school kid when your product is only for elderly people. So that's something that you think about the target user clearly. And then the last one, sorry, maybe I take much time on this. The last one is scalability. Think about how you can scale up your product quickly. And it's something that I my own experience also. Think if you are having idea, there are many ways you can do this kind of digital solution for elderly.
But start something that you don't really require a lot of people on the ground. It makes things that you just say, if I want to scale up, I only want technology. I just want database, I just want data center. But it's sometimes like coffee, for example, coffee for elderly. Maybe if you want to scale up, you need to buy the land, you need to have here and there. I don't think it's bad, but its scalability is a little bit slower for you to do that. So think about how you can scale up your product quickly. I think for that, yeah, I just want to be more specific, how you would say, how you would go for one by one. Say title, make it short, but avoiding existing name. So that is very important. You don't want to start with other company when you raise the fund and then they say, no, this is my company. Those kind of things, it would create some problems. So try to make it short, but it's something that doesn't exist yet. And the problem is, yeah, usually we say the pain point. What are the pain points, that you want to solve for elderly? For example, you can expect, let's say, I think Matt was presenting earlier. Let's say elderly people walk when he or she fell down. So do you have any technology that detects their behavior before they fall down? Then you can have something that support them. Think of those kind of things. And yeah, so I think I said earlier already, like your benefit, what kind of benefit your solution would have. And this is something that after solution, you should always show your demo. Demo, if you have 5 minutes, I think demo could be 1 minute. Demo of your product. You can have, different screen of your product, or you can link your demo to your GitHub apps where you can click and then let the user see it. 1 minute, but be careful because of internet connection now. If you do it real time live, maybe you could be in trouble. So try to make a video of it, that to be safe. I used to do that myself when I did in Google. I do it online directly, and when I change my computer, I need to enter the password, and then I don't have 1 minute to do that. So think about that carefully. And because we have 5 minutes, whether you accept there is a power shutdown in your place, maybe we can have an excuse for you to do it one more again. But if just because of some simple like that, like simple error because of our own error, that we don't really give the time for that. Yeah, I think for that I would give the floor back. Sorry, maybe I take too much time already. Sorry. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Nofia. Very useful, and I'm sure everything is at the disposal of the participants to see again while they work together with their team. So with that, I want to end our session today. And I want to thank everybody for their commitment and energy to be here and listen. So today was our training day to get you prepared and kicked off for the hackathon, which starts right now.
Yes, right now.
Right now, right?
Yeah, right now.
So thank you, everybody, and let's hack. See you, everybody, at the hackathon. Thank you, everybody. Thank you also to the participants online. Please stay connected.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much, everyone. And let's hack today. And we are here 24 hours for you. If you have any question, yes, let us know. And for Switzerland team, Geneva team, I think you are hungry for lunch also, right? Maybe.
For late lunch, yes.
Late lunch, yes. Yeah, okay, thank you very much. It must be a long day for everyone, but I hope we'll see you tomorrow, okay? Thank you very much.
See you.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.